here we are back again for episode 2 of Los Cinematicos. I've got Anthony and Movieman with me again. It's great to see you guys. How have y'all been?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just
Good.
getting off of work. Nice to be able to sit down with some fellow nerds and talk movies. Never a bad
Yep,
time.
yep. I'm looking forward to this discussion because Anthony, you saw something I did not see. D, you saw something we both saw,
Mm.
and I saw something I don't know if you guys saw, and I don't have nice things to say about it. So, I guess if it's okay, the plan is we're going to talk about individual reviews that we have recently written for Latino Slant, and we're going to talk about those individually. I guess give sort of a synopsis, our thoughts about it, and then sort of a bit of a discussion. Then we'll move on to the next person. And then our full panel discussion is going to be about Fantastic Four, which I saw last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to go first on this little, full on individual discussion. So I think I'm going to start clockwise with Anthony, if you
Cool.
don't mind.
Yeah, yeah. So do you want
So
to just jump into it together?
yes, together, but Polly, I don't know where that thing is. Hold on. Hold on. There's a banner. Sorry, y'all. He just like
There we
backed.
go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Polly. This
He threw
makes
he
me
threw
feel
you to the
better.
wolves. He threw you to the wolves.
Yeah, just like I'm out. I'm like, what? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
I
So,
love it.
Anthony, tell us a little bit about Together.
Yeah, sure. So it's a film coming from Neon, which I said it in my review that I did on my personal YouTube channel that, in recent years, whether you like it or you don't like it, Neon and A24 have just been such a great place for, I think, some of the most unique horror. And sometimes some of the most absurd. So you're either going to love it or you're not going to love it. But I've really appreciated that I can count on Neon and A24 every year to give me at least something that feels different. You guys will also see, this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but you'll see a review going live probably somewhere tomorrow on the Latino Slant website for a movie called Shaman. And without getting into spoilers, like for me, that movie felt just too like we've seen it a million times. And you guys will
Okay.
see that review tomorrow. But what I like about Neon is that they tend to have these more unique takes on horror. So this is the writing and directorial feature-length debut of Michael Shanks. Stars Dave Franco and Allison Brie, who are a real married couple, as a couple who are years into their relationship already, nearly a decade in at this point, and they really haven't found their footing. If I guess that's kind of an understatement. Dave Franco's character, they live in the city. He doesn't really have a need for a car, so he doesn't drive a car. He doesn't know how to drive, so he kind of relies on his girlfriend, played by Allison Brie. He's a aspiring musician, but nothing's really picked up just yet. And at the start of the movie, we have Allison Brie's character Millie getting a new job as a teacher, but more on the countryside. So they decide to move out there. He's struggling with the notion of this because, like, he's not really going to be able to follow music in the big city as he's been able to this entire time. And so immediately we're kind of set up to the notion that he kind of resents her for this move. She wants to start a life with him. So they're buying a home, but, she feels like she's maybe holding him back. So she feels bad. And then he makes her feel like he has him trapped. And so immediately you're kind of set up into a fact that there's this relationship that's not perfect. Not too long into going to where they move, they end up going on a hike, which leads them to this mysterious cave that they fall into. There's some weird liquid down there because they're thirsty. They ran out of water. Dave Franco's character decides to drink this water that's down there just because of how thirsty he is. And then over the course of the film, if you've seen the trailers, you know that they start to kind of be mending together. Their body parts start to mend together. There's a scene in the trailer where you can see like their eyelashes are kind of like intertwining. They go for a kiss and their lips get stuck together. So they start to find themselves starting to get attached. So this movie definitely leans into the body horror side of things.
Yeah.
And just in general is an allegory for the notion of it has quite a few things, actually. I think it's one of those movies that can have a lot of different takeaways, but it has a lot to do about codependency. It has a lot to say about toxic relationships. It has a lot to say about the notion of a union of a relationship really kind of needing it to be a mutual experience. Otherwise, what can form is the monstrosity that neither one of you really recognizes anymore. And I thought that was a really interesting take, having this horror movie approach with this body horror element of these two people who now, because of this, there is that paranormal side to it where it's like the liquid that he drank, and they give you a little bit more of like an explanation without spoiling it as to why what's happening is happening. But outside of that, it was an interesting take to kind of have relationships and codependency and the loss of identity in a relationship using this kind of body horror thing as kind of that allegory. I thought was really interesting. And what's cool is that depending on your personal outlook, you can see it as a codependency thing, but you can also see it as a toxic relationship thing. The notion that you can get into a relationship with somebody and find yourself in a place where you've lost who you are. Neither one of you is who you are anymore. Neither one of you is recognizable anymore. And so, yeah, right out of the gate, I thought the premise of this film was interesting. I think it's an incredibly unique film. I think the performances from both Dave Franco and Alison Brie are top tier throughout the course of the film. And you can tell, because they're an actual married couple, that they were able to really employ that chemistry that the two of them have. So the moments where the film has sexual tension, the moment where the film has the romantic moments, they were definitely able to employ their own personal relationship. But you can tell they probably were able to pull also from the times where they frustrated each other and being able to kind of have these moments where we're seeing this couple butt heads. And what's interesting about the film is even when they are at odds, there is this mystical side to things where they're drawn to one another, which is where the film starts to lean into the creepy, because it's like outside of the body horror, there are moments where once their body is like, even if they're sleeping, they're unconscious, they're waking up to one another, like stuck to each other, or one of them is eating the other person's hair, or like one of them is like, like their legs get fused together. And it's like almost like putty kind of fused where they just stick it. But then there are moments where they, if you've seen the trailer, there's specifically one moment where it looks like they're about to cut each other from one another, which was a fun scene. What I will say is Together is not overly gory. If you are thinking, I've had a lot of people think, oh man, this is this year's The Substance, or like they think it's going to be like this gore heavy film. It's far more CG heavy in those moments. For instance, there is a scene where like their arms are fusing, and it's more about just like seeing like the bones cracking and kind of connecting, but there's never like an overabundance of like skin tearing or like anything like that. There is some pretty grotesque, monstrous effects near the end, but I wouldn't say it's like a bloody or gory film. But in general, I think the premise is interesting. The performances are great. The chemistry is great. The cinematography is great. There's a really great eerie musical score to it all that kind of undertones it all and kind of gives it this, this unsettling vibe. Unsettling is the best way I would describe this film. And what I would really say as well is it's a very ambitious film. With all of that said, the end of the film is going to be where people live or die with this film, because while I enjoyed the film more than I disliked it, the second that the movie ended, the final 3 minutes, and specifically the final moment, right as the credits go, I sat there and I go, oh, I don't know if that was the ending that I really was hoping out of the journey was so much fun for me as a fan of horror and as a fan of ambitious, different horror. That final moment, I just didn't know how to feel about it. And I've heard that that's a pretty consistent thought process across the board. I like to take in audience reaction whenever I'm reviewing something. So I actually was sitting kind of closer to the front of the theater for this screening, and I got up the second it was over, and I was like slowly collecting like my my water bottle I had with me and stuff like that. And I looked around and was kind of like just looking at the different couples that were together or the friends that were together, and there was a mix of people just looking completely confused. There was a mix of people snickering at how the movie was playing out. There was an element of it just feeling like people were like kind of like, what did we just see? So I saw a mix of disappointment, confusion, laughter in those final moments. And so I do think that's something that people should keep in mind. I think it's a really interesting, unique horror film in the modern day, easily probably the most unique one I've seen in 2025. But it's going to live or die your personal, like it's going to live or die for you based on your personal taste of how ambitious something can be. I could see what they were going for. I think more than anything, I totally understand what the intent was with the end, but it almost comes off goofy in the wrong way. And I'll end this review by saying this, that as I was walking out of the theater, there were a couple of guys walking together, and I was just listening in, and I heard one guy like that was very clearly like did not love the ending, and one other guy who kind of liked the ending goes, "Well, what did you expect out of this movie?" And that other guy said, "Not that." So I think the ending is really going to be dependent on your personal taste. But with that said, as somebody who likes to critique film and break it down a little bit deeper than whether or not something works solely for me, I do think that as a feature-length debut for Michael Shanks, I think this is a really great way to start. Dave Franco and Alison Brie are great in the film, and it's a really unique way to, kind of use horror and body horror as this allegory metaphor for relationships of all kinds, toxic relationships, loss of identity in relationships, codependency, all that stuff. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Together. I think it's certainly a film that's worth it for people who are into different, unique, ambitious horror films or films in general, but it's certainly not going to work for everybody.
I took the cop-out approach and just read the movie plot and the movie and I decided I was glad I didn't go see it. Because that's just, but also I'm not super into body horror. So
Sure.
to me, it's extremely, it's just, I wasn't crazy in love with the substance. So I didn't feel like I'd be inclined to go watch this. And some of the imagery in the trailers is like, nope, no, thank you very much. I did not know that those two were married.
Yeah. They're actually married, which definitely made the experience a lot better. I think like it's not very often you get to see that in a movie.
Right.
Every here and there you get something where like, I don't know, it's not the same at all, but like something like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? Where like clearly the chemistry of what made that movie work was because the relationship blossomed on that set,
Right.
But in the case of this, being able to have like an actual married couple, like do these very intimate scenes, where they're like literally fusing together. Yeah, it certainly made for, I think a more connected experience between the two of them, especially one scene in particular that gets a little risque, but still has this part where they can't really detach from one another. If you can pick up what I'm putting down a little bit there, it made for a funny yet very connected scene. It was a little hard to get out of the moment, if you will.
Oh dear, help us. Oh, I wonder how awkward that was for them to film, though.
Yeah, there's a sweet aerial shot there of a very up close and personal area that's as they're trying to detach from one another. That's it definitely got a laugh from the audience.
Oh goodness. How long was the runtime?
Let's see. I don't think it was very long, like close to 2 hours or about 2 hours. Let's see.
Oh, well, that's kind of on up there for.
So it's 1 hour and 42. So not too long.
Oh no, not too bad then. Not too bad. And of course, nothing post credits or anything like that.
No post credits. It was a pretty straightforward movie. I honestly don't know, with the way that it ends right before the credits, I really don't know how they what they could have put in a post credit scene. I see Daniel there said that he loved Together, but the ending seemed rushed or slapped on there. Yeah, I think the ending is like, I could see what they were going for, but you're either going to like this movie or absolutely not like this movie based on that ending. That ending is it's definitely it's a moment. It's a moment.
And you still feel like you're trying to decide what you think about the ending?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where like it's tough. I know what the ending is saying, so my brain goes, I understand it. There's one thing when you can see an ending and you go, oh, I don't get that, or like why was that the way they ended it? For me, it's like, why was that the way they chose to end it? But also, like, I get what they were trying to say, so I'm not confused on it. I just don't know if it was like
the best.
The whole journey was so engaging. The whole journey was so engaging, and there were scenes like there's a scene, without spoilers, where the two of them are sleeping in two separate rooms once they figure out what's going on, and kind of like they use the allegory of like, when you get sick and at night you're you just feel weaker, like you feel sicker at night when you're in the middle of a sickness. They kind of use that as a metaphor at one point for like that at night when their bodies are unconscious and stuff like that, that pull to one another is even stronger. And so there's like a scene where they're being pulled to one another without, while they're unconscious, and they're waking up in the middle of their bodies, like folding over like the hallway, coming to one another. Ugh. And like there was just so many moments in this film that were just so unique and so well shot and so well acted that it was so engaging to watch. And then you get to that final like 3 minutes, and it's like, I just don't know. Like I think it's one of those. Maybe I'll rewatch it and maybe have a different take on it. But yeah, it left me feeling unsure about my overall experience.
Okay, so a little ambivalent for you then. You're not
Yeah.
super clear on how you feel as a whole because that ending kind of you feel like it kind of lost the plot
Yeah, it's
a
weird because it's
little.
like at the same time, I don't think it lost the plot. I just don't know. Like I understand it fits thematically with what we've been seeing. It just I feel like it takes like a really tension heavy, interesting like movie, and then ends it in a way that I guess you can say makes sense for this whole together element, but also comes across goofy. That's why I saw people
Goofy. So
snickering in the
I
theater.
see.
You know.
Sin, you know what that sounds like? Remember how we felt about the almost like the very, very ending, close to the ending of Sisu?
Oh, yes, Lord.
It's
Yeah.
like we were running with a very specific theme.
Yeah.
Where we're leaning into the grittiness and the, you know, the griminess and the tough, violent, you know, kind of like trying to survive and all that kind of stuff. Then they lean into something completely different.
Yeah, they go John Wicky territory.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like,
It's
what?
like,
What is
no.
like they go in a completely different direction.
Like a bit of a tone mismatch then is what
Right.
it sounds like we're talking about with Together.
Yeah, it was something, man. Like it was just like it's hard to say it without you guys having seen it. It's just like if I said it to you guys here, it would sound goofy, you know.
Well,
and so
I
I think
know
that's
the
it.
end, so you
Oh,
know
you
the
know the
rest of
end.
the yeah, I read. Like I said, I took the cop out approach and read the ending. I'm just curious what that looked like
Yeah, right.
because I haven't seen the imagery. I just know what happened.
Right. It's I look forward to revisiting it. I'll say that. It's one that like it didn't turn me off to being like, oh, that ending sucked. I don't want to see it. It's more like I want to see it again, see how I feel about it. Because the journey up to that point I thought made for like a really interesting film for sure.
You got to chew on it a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
I was interested in seeing this. It looked really interesting. The trailer was definitely intriguing. However, I got screwed over multiple times in my pursuit of seeing this because the first time I went to go see it, it was an advanced screening, and then they said we've kind of booked to capacity, and now we've overbooked, and now we've like triple overbooked or something like that. So you have to be here at this time.
Yeah,
and
super
the theater
early.
is like a ways away. So in the time I get off work, I was just like, I can't do that. So then there was AMC Screen Unseen. So I was like, okay, I kept hearing from people that might be it. Some people were saying it might be another movie, but everyone thought it has to be Together. It was not Together. It was The Home starring Pete Davidson.
Oh, yes, that was terrible. Yeah.
And I'm going to be real honest. I know it sounds mean-spirited, and I'm not trying to be that type of person, but wow. But I'm going to be honest. Looking at Pete Davidson for 90 minutes or more is a no for me, especially as a lead. So as soon as I realized like that's what I was like, okay, I'm out of here. And then the third go round was the following week on, I believe it was Tuesday. Was getting off work, was close to the theater this time. Was sitting waiting because it was still like an hour ahead of time. My mom and I finally, head into the theater and like, oh, we're closing down because we have some kind of issue with our plumbing and piping system, and it's a very dangerous system. We have to shut down. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm over it. I just don't care.
Maybe that was a sign, D.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, this must mean something. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah, no desire on my part to watch this at all. But Neon, I almost feel like Neon is what A24 used to be.
I see that.
As
far as like their concepts and kind of edgy out there stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like A24 it doesn't quite have the same, I don't know, flavor that it used to. So anyway.
Honestly, for better, I would say, because I still am a fan mostly of stuff that A24 comes out with, but there were some movies in their earlier like weird auteur days that were just like, dude, like they're just like putting out like one I'll never forget is I went to the theater to watch Lamb. For anybody who's ever seen
I heard
Lamb.
about that with Noomi Rapace.
What's that? Yeah, with Noomi Rapace. That was one that I'll never forget seeing in theaters and thinking, like, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, like if I was somebody who just saw like a studio name and was like be able to be put off by that altogether, that would have been the movie that did it. Now at the same time, A24 also has, something like Everything Everywhere All at Once or Hereditary or something.
Remember. They have a movie called Remember. Have you guys ever seen that?
I've
I don't
heard
think I've
about it.
seen
I haven't seen it
Remember.
though.
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah,
seen that
I've
one.
heard
Is
about
it
that
good?
Highly recommend.
one.
Okay, cool.
It's this guy who has Alzheimer's. He had been a prisoner, and he basically kind of goes on this revenge quest on behalf of one of his friends at the retirement home, because Christopher Plummer is physically capable of taking this journey. The other guy, I think it was Martin Landau, is not.
Yeah.
So Christopher goes off with this paper to remind him of stuff, and he goes to track down these different people responsible, or a person responsible for what happened to them in the camp. And it has a twist at the end that is it's jarring and difficult to wrap your brain around because of what you've grown to know about the characters. And I recommend that one for anyone who hasn't seen it. But then I just love Christopher Plummer, so
Right, yeah.
okay. So Polly has been awesome in popping up different comments. So unless you want me to specifically, Polly, I feel like there is this one that Jen said. I will pop this up. Sounds a little bit like the human centipede. Maybe not quite as
Not as
disgusting.
extreme.
Yeah, definitely not as that movie. That's something else. I mean, it's not worse than the second one, but it's this one's a little bit more like there's a little bit more of like a paranormal element to it. There's like a reason, and their bodies are fusing more like actually like the skin touches and like becoming one kind of thing, versus it being like they're kind of like sticking or sewing together kind of thing. It's more like if it, like they've touched hands and their hands will become like one hand.
Start to
like it kind of becomes
join,
webbed and like they have like
10
fingers in there, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that was great, Anthony. Thank you for saving me the time going to watch something like that. So I guess we can move on now to oh, sorry, I'm going to pop this up here. Have you guys heard of this movie?
Oh, you know what? I don't know why I was thinking Society of the Snow, but Just Society, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I've never seen Society.
Oh, Society of the Snow is not necessarily body horror.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I know what the end game of that is, so I wasn't sure.
Society of the Snow?
Yeah, so I didn't know if that aspect of the story involved that, but I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I guess we're going to move on. If we're going clockwise, we'll move on to D. Going to talk about his review of 40 Acres. Have you seen it, Anthony?
I haven't. I actually had tickets to see it, and then I had to change, and then I just haven't had a chance to see it since. So I do plan to check it out, though. The trailer looked pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, I saw it, and I felt like it made up for The Woman in the Yard.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, because I mentioned it before, because that was one of the first things I thought when I finished watching it. But Dee has a fantastic review of it up on the Latino Slant's website. So Dee, go ahead and take it away. Tell us some about 40 Acres.
Yes. First and foremost, thank you so much, Polly, for the opportunity. This is my first time ever being published through a media outlet. I used to write on my own blog years ago, and I kind of had aspirations of doing things in that lane, but never happened. Never did YouTube. It took me like over a decade, to get to this point. So I'm very, very grateful to have had the opportunity, and I look forward to doing more once some work stuff gets pushed out of the way. But outside of that, 40 Acres is directed by R.T. Thorne. It stars Danielle Deadweiler, Michael Gray Eyes, and Katim O'Connor. And story-wise, it is centered around, you could kind of say, a post-apocalyptic future. Not quite Mad Max post-apocalyptic, but it is, the world as it comes off the, as it continues to move past a global pandemic, which is ironic because years ago we'd have been like, man, that's wild, that's crazy, and here we are. But there's that, it's worldwide, widespread famine. There's a new civil war that's happened, and in the midst of that, we see that there is a young woman portrayed by Danielle Haley Freeman, portrayed by Danielle Deadweiler, and she has her own plot of land, a farm that is surrounded, by electric fences, barbed wire, and it is land that has belonged to her family since, I want to say, since the American Revolution. It's been like in her family for at least over a century. And
it's in Canada.
In Canada,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah.
And what I found significant about it is, of course, the title 40 Acres is a reference to General Sherman's field order regarding the allocation of 40 acres and a mule, land, autonomy, a chance for enslaved people to have, established lives and free lives, kind of building things up in the wake of emancipation. And then, of course, certain things happened, that gets rescinded. And then that kind of creates this domino effect, this far-reaching consequences as far as the community and things that play out as far as history. And so here it's referencing how it's kind of referencing the other side of that. And even with Canada, it was a place that many enslaved people escaped to, because Canada's emancipation, like abolishment of slavery, came about in the early 1800s or somewhere in the 1800s. I believe it was before America's emancipation or abolishment of slavery. But yes, and so the fact that it's centered there, the fact that Haley is married to an indigenous man, I think the actual actor is First Nation, which is the native or indigenous people of Canada. So they were very intentional as far as who they cast. It's a blended, Black and indigenous family. So there are a lot of dynamics here that are very intentional as far as what they are hinting at as far as historical allegory and very specific details there. And I think what's most interesting about it as a whole is that, of course, it's referencing the importance and the significance of land, legacy, inheritance, and all those things, but also about what it means for fear to seep in so deeply into your emotions, into your mindset, that your desire to protect your family, to protect your land and your legacy and all those things, it almost has the opposite effect. And the things you're trying to hold together as far as your family, starts to push them away. Her oldest son, his name is Manny, and he's the oldest. He's been with her, he's her oldest son. And he gets to the point where he's like older, he's just about an adult basically. And he's just like, what is it like outside of here? He's always been here. He wants connection. He wants community. He wants something outside of this. And even with Haley, she's able, through the radio system, she's able to communicate with other farms. And so there are kind of relationships she's built with other people through that medium, however, or through those devices. But she has a fear, like one of them that she has a really close relationship with. She says, "Hey, can you consider coming and training some of our kids so that they can be combat trained?" Because her entire family is combat trained as well. They have a strict, regimented life with Haley. And so it's like, okay, what if you come and offer us that, because we need that as well. And she's too afraid to step outside, because I just think the threat of what anything outside of her existence, her structure, her regiment, all that, it's just like, that will spell disaster. And if she loses it all, then, it's losing everything, and tracing back, to the beginning of her family's, her family's land and all of that. And I just really thought it was something to see. I actually ended up seeing this on Juneteenth, and even though it's not like a specific Juneteenth movie, I think it's ironic I saw it, because it kind of it connects to a lot of those themes, regarding that day historically. And I really appreciated it. I like the fact that it was able to blend, very intense violence with some very surprising emotional depth and an intensity. And I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what I was expecting going in, but like Sin said, it's almost like, and because they were so close together, it's interesting how, like, what I might have expected with The Woman in the Yard, I just kind of felt like whatever they were intending, I felt the fulfillment of that with 40 Acres. There was something walking away from it where I felt like, oh wow, I felt the depth, I felt the, the deeper resonance, and I appreciated the journey. I felt the stakes. I felt all of that. And of course, Danielle Deadwyler is good in everything she does, so I enjoyed her. The only thing I would say I really didn't care for, there were some things narratively as far as the backstory of the Freeman farm I wanted to know a little bit more about. It's kind of, they reference it, but I wanted to still know more about that because it's speaking to, of course, a very specific part of history. So I wanted to know more about how that came about. I also think some of the character development and the relationship building, especially between Haley and her husband, I felt like we never really saw any real physical intimacy between them, or like a real sense of like, I'm not saying it has to be a bunch of PDA, but I'm just saying like I didn't really feel. There was a point early on I didn't realize they were actually together. I just thought it was like they were banded together as a group.
Yep.
And then it wasn't until I kind of saw her leaning on him and I was like, are they, and then they kind of say it, but I didn't really see it. So I wish they would have and that's not something I usually see, that kind of pairing. So I wish they would have leaned a little bit more into that. And then Katem O'Connor as Manny, I don't know if it's the actor, the characterization, the writing for the character, or maybe a combination, but Manny was kind of lame to me.
How so?
There was something, and it's hard because I feel like they were trying to showcase how he's a little bit emotionally stunted, and he's kind of in this weird space between what he knows and what he wants to know as far as the outside world and him becoming an adult and all those things. But there were moments as far as his actions and his choices. And I understand like there was something else that was overriding probably his common sense and logic. But
yeah, there certainly was.
Right, exactly. So I understand that, but it was also a little bit of like his relationship with Haley and some of his decision making and choices. I wasn't as connected to him and like, oh, I completely get this. Some of it didn't really click all the way for me. I don't think his performance was bad, but I feel like his quiet, moments of contemplation and longing, I felt like that. I was more connected to that than when he had these huge, dramatic, in-your-face moments. Some of those didn't click all the way for me. So I would say, like, as far as the entire film, those aspects didn't necessarily work for me. But as a whole, it was something I haven't really seen, especially, I talk all the time about Black imagery and kind of stories that we can see, whether it's history, fiction, nonfiction, like whatever it is, there are so many opportunities in different lenses, especially culturally or historically, that we can explore. And I felt like this film did that in a way I haven't necessarily seen before. So as a whole, even with the flaws, it was something I was very surprised by, and as you said, it was a good refresher after The Woman in the Yard, because Woman in the Yard kind of left me with the I didn't really know how to feel about that experience, whereas this I was like, oh, okay, like I could breathe.
I knew how to feel about The Woman in the Yard, but I enjoyed this movie. But I'm so glad you wrote the review for this, Dee, because you just dug really deep. And I didn't see all these layers that you did. One of the main things that stood out to me about 40 Acres was that it felt like an allegory for, or symbolic representation of like parenthood and having to release your children, and the intense crippling fear that can sometimes come about as a result of that. That's what I saw a lot in her actions. And she was definitely the boss of that family. That's probably why you couldn't quite tell in the beginning that she and her husband were a pair, because she seemed very emotionally distant. You do see eventually as the movie goes on, and as she does start to open up a bit more, but she is extremely rigid.
Yes.
And you do not cross her. She makes it very clear. But I really enjoyed her performance. And also I think I'm not a huge fan of post-apocalyptic stories. They're to me that's horror in itself.
Yeah.
Because it can happen. And but I think also what drew me to the story was the other horror element to it, which is what's going on with the other families of farmers
Yeah.
in the area. And that's, that was the big, that was kind of like the whole sort of crux of the story and how they're going to try to defend themselves against that. And it was like, it was terrible, but it was so good. I appreciated it so much. And I think also just because it was such a palate cleanser from that ridiculous,
Right.
awful movie before. Oh my gosh. I didn't feel like this movie needed a trigger warning in front of
Right,
it,
exactly.
like the other one did. But I look forward to hearing what you think, Anthony, whenever you get around to
Yeah,
checking
it's
it out.
definitely one just listening. Like I haven't watched any reviews on it in depth. I've kind of like wanted like I'll go and check somebody's stuff out and give it a like or a comment or something. But I saw the trailer. I go, this looks interesting. Yeah, now hearing a little bit more about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, it definitely sounds like something that I want to check out, especially kind of hearing a little bit more about the layers that the film seems to have. That the trailer, I guess in retrospect, I can see how it kind of alludes to these things, but like obviously you kind of have to see the film to really be able to like get those full takeaways. So it's nice to kind of hear a little bit more about it and kind of see the things that you guys saw in it, specifically kind of like what you said there, Sin, being able to hear like D's takeaways from it definitely has me excited for it. But we all know that D is really good at wording his reviews.
Oh, he's so, I know. You both are, actually.
Hey, I saw the movie because of his review.
There you go. There you go.
Yay, good. Yeah.
And if anyone in the audience, I'm just popping on because you two guys haven't seen it. I saw it and just like beautiful film, man. I got some of the same problems you do. Probably not as much. I kind of liked the young kid. It was annoying. Definitely the couple. I was like, yeah, this would have been a good moment for Deadweiler to show some vulnerability, some intimacy, a layer, because she's such the matriarch in taking care of everybody, which I loved as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was missing that moment. But anyone in the chat thinking about this, it could even be in the same universe as 20 years later, but like in Canada. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Just like that, just the whole. But I think I wanted to throw this at you, D, because I'm thinking the 40 Acres title turned people off. And it was maybe even mismarketed a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? Bye.
Oh my God. Well, I do think it's possible because let's see, because I'm trying to even kind of think in my mind, because I don't know how well it was marketed. Because I think depending on, and I also don't know if like with marketing, I don't like, because we're like film people and we do content related to film commentary and all that, I'm like, and we have browsers and all these devices, because of our system, the way our systems are set up, do we actually see more film related content and more than the average person, or is it just based on what gets marketed regardless? So that part I'm not necessarily sure about, but I will say, like, at least for me, off the rip, 40 Acres, I wasn't thinking 40 Acres and a Mule. I was kind of like, I didn't really know anything about the film. And I remember seeing the trailer somewhere, but I don't think I got the full gist of what it was. So it could have been possible that, and this is the first film that came to mind, but maybe in the same way that Edge of Tomorrow got marketed and people weren't really sure what it was, especially after Oblivion coming out not that long before, I believe. I think people may not have known what to make of it. And usually when people can't make sense of something, there's not a draw to it, there's not a connection. And I will say I happened to see this also because it was an early access screening that popped up on the AMC app, and it was on the day when I was off work because it was Juneteenth. So I was like, okay, I'll go and see it. And I think possibly without that, I may not have been thinking, even though I'll see anything with Danielle Detweiler, I probably would have been thinking, hey, let me go see this. So I can see, I think there might have been a disconnect. Now, if some people took away the 40 acres part, then I can see some folks just like, oh, is this going to be a whatever type of movie? But for me, it was just more so me not fully understanding what it was about and what it was really trying to say, because that would have been something that would have interested me, but I wasn't exactly clear on it.
That's interesting. Did you see any trailers before you watched the movie, or did you just see it on your app or the early screening and decided I'm interested in this?
I cannot remember what movie I saw before, and I don't know if I was paying. Usually I'll watch the trailers, but I feel like I was also doing something, so it's like I saw it, but it wasn't enough to where. And you know how sometimes, especially if you go to AMC, like they replay trailers over and over. So it was only the one time, and
Okay.
I didn't fully. And I was like, well, what is this? Where did this come from? So yeah, so and I think when I think I was looking. I feel like sometimes in the ANC app, sometimes they'll show you things that are coming up, and sometimes you have to look for certain things. And I think when I clicked on coming soon, that was just there. And I was like, oh, okay. And now let me look at this. And then it kind of went from there. Oh, Joan said her first thought was 40 Acres and a Mule. I didn't necessarily, I don't know why I didn't think about that off the rip, but like I said, I didn't realize Daniel Detweiler was in it and all that.
Well, I'm just gonna say, I'll just be blunt, right? Is that if you're not black, that's I think a lot of people thought that, and it's like, oh, they're on a farm. What is this? What's going on here? Is this gonna be about race and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was marketed around Juneteenth. So, and I that's not a reason to. Everyone's got their own prejudice, I suppose. But again, if that was the marketing, if that was the studio's plan, they definitely missed the mark on this film, because this film is very special, because there are those elements, but it's so much more than that. So yeah. I just wanted to ask you that. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I think I want to say, I can't remember if I saw it listed on AMC as Regal as coming soon, and then I saw the trailer, or vice versa.
Right.
But I did think 40 Acres and a Mule, but I didn't think it in any sort of like negative connotation. I was just like, well, that's an interesting title for a post-apocalyptic survival, because I always perceived it as, I had seen a trailer, and I typically stay away from trailers, but if I feel like I don't care, I'll watch a trailer, and I was like, oh, this looks like post-apocalyptic, looks like horror, survival type thing. And of course, you know, the title was like, oh, okay, it's a family, a black-owned farm that's whatever. But it's, I feel like they should have marketed it to the horror crowd more.
Yeah, because
because of the nature of the because of the nature of the story and everything. Right. I feel like it was only on the big screen for a hot second. That was it.
Yeah, unfortunately. And you know what else it kind of reminded me of, now that you mentioned the horror element? Obviously not in the same way because of the dynamic of the film, but you know, like how Quiet Place was centered around the farm and kind of the quiet isolation of that, and then this thing kind of like coming towards them and them having to defend. It kind of reminded me of those elements too. So they definitely could have leaned into them marketing.
I had some very minor issues with it. One was this little the ritual thing or whatever involving the fire that they did with the daughter at night. My first thought was, why are you doing that when you know there's something, there are groups that have bad intentions, and you're just going to draw them right to you, like stupid little, just like, this makes no sense. Why are you doing this? People can see the fire for miles. They're going to come after you.
And I assume it's something they could have done, maybe not like inside, but they had a barn and things like that. So yeah, I understand.
Something a little bit more muted,
right,
than what they showed. But yeah, I enjoyed this for the most part, and I'm glad I was able to watch it. And
I want to see it now. It sounds really interesting. It sounds like definitely kind of movie. I'm kind of bummed I missed it in theaters. And just to touch a little bit on what Dee said there about like the marketing, I saw the trailer for one time, like legitimately one time. This has been a strange year for marketing. I don't know how you guys feel about it, because there's been like certain movies like earlier this year, like Drop or Novocaine, that I couldn't go to a movie without seeing a trailer for, like at all. Like those two in particular. I feel like when I think of trailers I've seen this year, Drop and Novocaine, like a million times. That like the buzzing of the vibrating phone, the bzz, bzz in the trailer of Drop, like it's still ingrained in my head for the amount of times I saw that. And but then there was movies like this one or Elio, you know, the Pixar film that I literally saw the trailer maybe once in theaters. Like crazy how like heavily marketed certain films were and how poorly marketed others were.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand it, but you know, I mean, I could go there with Better Man. That wasn't marketed very well, too.
Don't even get me. Don't even,
I know.
don't even get me started about Better Man. I actually had a coworker that I've been finally trying to get into Better Man for months. They like because it's on Amazon Prime now too. So I told him to finally. I started just going around to my coworkers and be like, "Hey, do you have Amazon Prime?" They're like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, Better Man. And they're like rolling their eyes because the amount of times I've told them to watch Better Man. And then one of them finally came to me today and was saying, I finally saw it. And they were just singing its praises. And then they told me they were getting like goosebumps as they were talking to me about it. I'm like, yeah, because it's literally, it's literally got to be one of the best movies that's come out in the last like decade. Maybe one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, it's so freaking good. And that's, you know, it's a musical too, and the fact that and it's a biography story. Not that I'm super big on those, but oh, that movie just hit all the right notes with me. And Jonathan McClain, by the way, writer of The Outfit.
Yes.
His wife is she's like a chef for she does all sorts of different stuff like that, but she's also like she's done like food prep stuff for Gerard Butler and other people and all that. And there was someone she was working with who was one of Robbie's bandmates from Take That or something like that. And when I brought up that movie to them, because of course I did, when I met them a couple weeks ago, I brought up Better Man, and then he told me that story about his wife. I was like, oh, that's cool. Now you got to watch Better Man.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess that's draws 40 acres to a close, so I guess we'll move on to mine.
Yay!
Have you guys seen Oh Hi?
No.
Oh no.
You have? Oh, okay. This movie is now number 2 on my top worst for the year. It was one of the mystery movies. Regal mystery movie. We had a live stream discussion about it the next day. And it is, I had to refresh my memory on the person who directed it. It's directed by Sophie Brooks, and that's not mine, Polly. Sorry. It's okay. It's directed by Sophie Brooks, and it's co-written by Molly Gordon, who is the main actress in here. And it also stars Logan Lerman. And Lord have mercy. It starts off with like she's sitting. I'm not going to be nearly as eloquent as you guys, okay? Because this movie pissed me the hell off. All right.
I mean, sometimes that's just what it is.
I'm still angry about it, and part of the reason I'm also angry is the audience reaction to it. So it shows her sitting in this house. It's night. And there is playing like this sort of edgy music, like something bad has happened. What's going on? Her friend comes to the door because she has called her friend over. And she says something like, I did something. So you're like, oh, holy crap. What did she do? Did she accidentally, kill somebody? Or like, what the hell has happened? They do this flashback showing the girl and her guy companion. They're going on a romantic weekend to this like lake house, and it's like an Airbnb or something. And while they're there, they find this, they start snooping in this spot where they shouldn't be snooping, and they find this bondage stuff. Okay. It doesn't get super, super crazy as far as that goes. They just they decide they're going to play with the bondage stuff, and they're going to use the cuffs. And first she's supposed to be chained to the bed, and then she's like, no, I don't want to be. Let me chain you. So he gets chained to the bed, and they have their little playtime. And then when they're done, she's starting to like take his shackles off, and they get into this really stupid conversation. She makes some sort of reference to him being her boyfriend. And up till that point, you kind of think that they are an actual, committed couple, because they having this nice time, and they're swimming in the lake, and they're reading together, and they have a nice romantic dinner. But then you find out that, according to him, no, we're not a couple. Like, you're just like a casual thing. Like, we're seeing other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they get in this argument about it. She ends up being so angry with him that she refuses to untie him. She says she's going to leave him strapped to the bed for 12 hours so he can work through this and basically change your mind about us. Like, that's going to really make him change his mind. Anyway, this movie's played for comedy, y'all.
Mm.
I did not find anything funny about this movie at all. The 12 hours are up, and she starts to untie him, and then she starts to like broach this conversation again, like, well, you know, if you changed your mind, and this is another stupid thing. Why are you going to be talking to her while she's not done unchaining you? He indicates, like, maybe not really, you know, or whatever. And then she refuses to let him go. She keeps him tied up more. And at this point, I think it's around at this point, he indicates, look, this is illegal. You're going to get in trouble. I'm going to report you. Number one, don't say that while you're still tied up, but he does. So then they get in some sort of like something happens, some sort of scuffle, and she accidentally like hits him in the face with her elbow or arm or whatever. I can't remember. She leaves him tied up. She calls her friend. That's when her friend comes over. And then her friend has brought her boyfriend along. Then the friend and the boyfriend, they're all drawn into this figuring out how to get out of this situation, because he's going to report you to the police, you know, and you're going to get in trouble and you're going to go to jail and your life is going to be over, that sort of thing. While this guy is still tied upstairs. At one point, he's got a ball gag in his mouth, and the audience thinks this is freaking hilarious. And they're laughing. And I'm like, would you be laughing if it was a woman tied to the bed? You would not be laughing at all. This would not be remotely funny. Polly, make me small. This would not have been greenlit. This would not be a movie played for comedy if the genders had been reversed. And that pissed me off so much. At one point, murder was discussed.
Oh, Lord.
And it's just like, for laughs, you know, when they talk about murder and he can hear them, and he's like, like that, like kind of yelling because he's got the ball gag in his mouth. And the audience is like, ha, 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 ha. This is so funny. It was not funny at all, you guys. I hated this movie with a passion. I was pissed at the audience for thinking it was funny, because to me it was not. And something else that makes this movie worse for me is that the girl, the actress, she co-wrote this, and this was kind of therapy for her.
Oh, my.
Right? So, yeah, right? Okay, I don't think it's funny, you guys. I don't find it humorous at all.
Yeah.
And in our live stream discussion, no, don't make me big. Don't listen to Sander. In the live stream discussion about this, we were talking about ways it could have been better. Like, it could be this goofy comedy where maybe she was going to unlock him and she lost the key or something. Right. And this, like, how to get, but I was like, well, that wouldn't work, because they could have just sawed through the leather cuffs, because they were leather cuffs. If they were metal cuffs, they could have just called the cops, hey, we were messing around and we lost the key. Can you come on? You know, so there's really no situation where this would work as an actual comedy. It should have been made like a horror thriller. This guy strapped to a bed by this crazy woman who won't let him go because she wants to force him to stay with her.
That's what it sounds like it would normally be like, but
that's what it should have been like. But for some reason, because it's a guy that's the victim of this, it's hilarious. It's so funny. Ha ha ha. It's a great romantic comedy. No, freaking was not. And the ending, can I spoil this, Polly? Can I spoil it? I don't know. He's not answering me, so I don't know.
I'm intrigued to at least see what happens.
Well, I tell you, I feel like there was not adequate
resolution.
There was not adequate. What's the word I'm looking for? You know, like a consequence.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For what had been done to this guy, and an apology was given.
Oh.
That should not have been given from the person who did not owe the apology.
Ooh, gotcha.
So I really, really, I cannot recommend this film. I mean, maybe you guys will feel completely different about it, but what is it, Polly? What's
You
going
gave
on?
it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it. You know what?
2 out of 10, guys. Stay far away.
I feel like that was being generous because my initial score is 1 out of 5, and then of course when you double it to make it out of 10, then it's 2 out of 10, and I'm like, well, that's way too high. So the story, like the acting was fine, cinematography was fine, the pacing was okay. You know, it was beautiful scenery. There was nothing really technically wrong with the movie, but the story sucked hard. And I cannot recommend something like this. I mean, I don't know if it's just I don't have the right sense of humor, but I just don't like these double standard type things. And I know a movie with the genders reversed would never have been greenlit for comedy. For horror, all right, Arturo, stop. For horror, yes. For comedy, no. So those are my thoughts on Oh Hi. Yeah, 2 out of 10 tacos. Not even.
Question, Sin.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Oh gosh, did I just blank out? Oh, well, I have a question. Have you seen Gerald's Game?
I have.
Okay. I haven't seen Gerald's Game yet because
Okay.
a latent kind of far off fear of mine is being in that kind of situation, and just the thought of being stuck or trapped or technically not being able to move.
Right, yeah.
Scares me. So just to use that as maybe as contrast, perhaps, like, would you say that Gerald's Game is effective in what it's portraying, and why it's a better film, besides it being Mike Flanagan and his usual vision of films, and his storytelling compared to this?
Well, it's definitely better, and it's definitely effective because it is a horrifying situation. The difference is that what puts her in that situation, it's not anything nefarious. Mm-hmm. It's just that do you know the premise
Of Gerald's Game?
Yes, of why she gets stuck there.
Yeah, and that's why it also scares me, because it's so like, oh, this is just a regular. No.
Yeah. Right. Maybe just leave it loose a little bit so I can slip my hand out.
Right.
Don't tighten it all the way. No, that movie is so much better. And I was kind of thinking about Gerald's Game when I saw it, and I was going to say something else about it, and I go, there's an instance, another terrible, stupid thing. The keys are right there on the little table by the bed, and he finds like a hair comb that a woman will put in her hair, not to brush her hair, but decorative. He uses that, okay, and they're within reach enough for him to scoop the keys toward him. So how do you think you would have a hair comb and try to scoop the keys toward you? How do you think you would do that?
Is that...
Wouldn't you use the prongs of the comb to grab the keys and pull them toward you?
Oh, like within the, yeah.
Or just like snag it, bring it toward you, and then you can grab it. He turns it parallel to the table and pushes the keys away from him towards the edge of the table. And they fall off, of course, and then he can't get the keys. Like, stupid writing stuff like that is like, he could have gotten them. Whatever. I hate this movie. Oh,
I just remember what else, because I kind of went.
Stop!
I kind of went.
Maybe so.
I kind of went awry with what I was going to say, because I was also thinking of Gerald's Game. But I was going to say, is your number one Slow Horses?
Yes.
How did I know? That's
on Swift Horses. It's On Swift Horses is the name of that.
Swift Horses, excuse me. Yeah, Slow Horses. That's a show. Yeah, but On Swift Horses.
Oh, yeah. I've been wanting to ask you, that's your worst film of the year?
That's my worst film of the year so far.
We have that list of worst films. That's right, because I
hated that movie too.
The best and worst of so far. I have everyone's list. Did you send me yours, man?
Yeah, I sent it to
Okay. All right.
Oh,
That's
well, you know what? At the time, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to send it to you directly, so I sent it to Sin. So I
no,
don't.
it's all on me. I
Oh,
just
did
haven't
you?
put up.
And
I haven't put up.
did I
Wait,
not
let me
pass
see.
it
Do I have
along?
it? So, okay, audience, you're going to get a very late mid-year
Mid-year. It's
best
not
of.
terribly late.
It's a month. It's a good 2 months late. It's supposed to like July 1st, mid a year. But anyways, it is the best and worst of movies from our film critics here on the panel, and myself and Rosa Para. So look for that. And let me see. I do have the draft. Anyways, let me get out of here.
I will say really quickly on that note, not to plug my own stuff, but I have a game show I do on my channel called Convince the Panel, and I had Sin on,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the question was, what is the worst film of 2025? And Sin very passionately argued for On Swift Horses being the worst film of 2025.
And I won that round too.
You did win that round. You did win that round. I think it was On Swift Horses versus Snow White.
Yeah, versus Rashad was like, "Man, both of y'all act like these films hurt you." That was funny. Yeah, that one was bad too for the exact same sort of reason. Terrible like characters and like characters you just could not like. It was also way too long.
Yeah, I heard it was a snooze fest. Like,
it was
long and boring.
it was not I was not, and I knew very early on when that movie started that I was going to have a problem with it, and it didn't get any better. What's up, Polly?
I don't have D MovieMann's list, so someone send it to me. See, there's a reason why it did not publish.
You didn't text it to me. Did you send it to me via Instagram or
Yeah,
Twitter?
when we were talking, like you were saying, like, oh, Polly wants such and such. At the time, I thought I was sending this stuff.
I'm just
Oh,
gonna give...
and I remember you asking me, and I thought I said something about sending it to him. And if you sent it to me, I think it was in the middle of the con. I was in Denver when all this was happening.
Right. So let's just eliminate that. Here we go in the private chat. There you go. D, that's my
his cell. So you can text it to him.
Okay.
I'm curious now to know what D's worst film of the year is myself.
I imagine. So
I feel like I'm going to be the only one who has a movie that nobody thought of.
Anthony's gives a lot of praise. So
wait, what'd you say?
I said I'm curious to know what Anthony's is, because Anthony is the grace giver. So I'm curious to know what is considered like, oh my gosh. No.
I'll tell you right now. It's a movie called Rats.
Never heard of this.
Someone did mention that you. Oh, Mike told me you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this movie. So I'm grateful to be able to get early access to all the big stuff and all the theatrical releases. But every year I try to cover quite a few films that are going straight to streaming or straight to VOD. A lot of times with that, I would tend to cover some like smaller, like low budget flicks. So I covered this comedy that came out. It's like raunchy, kind of like meant to be like old, like early 2000s, late 90s, kind of like absurdist comedy called Rats. And it's about this kid who he gets arrested for doing graffiti, and then he ends up getting out, and his mom forces him to go like spend time with his cousin who's kind of like being watched by the cops. And it's all living in this heightened kind of like silly comedy, but it is not funny at all. The performances are atrocious. It's going for pure shock value. Like literally, there's a scene in the movie where this absurd cop character that's running around throughout the movie that's just like a very big, over-the-top, boisterous character. Literally a scene where she walks into the bathroom and she's trying to be like crude and absurd, walks into a bathroom to drop a deuce, and the camera this is right before she gets into a fight randomly with a character in the bathroom, and like they're like biting each other's noses off. Like it's absurd. Like it lives in this heightened reality. But right before this, she's like, I gotta take a crap, and so she sits on the toilet. The camera is inside of the like within the water. And it was like an actual prosthetic they made of the butthole, like dropping the crap onto the camera. It is like when people tell me that like they have their worst movie or something like that, more often than not, the movie that their worst movie is something that I would say should win an Oscar. Like I haven't seen On Swift Horses, and I'm sure it's not great, but it's one of those things where like a movie like that, usually my worst movie of the year is like pure garbage. Like a couple years ago, I covered a movie called All Jacked Up and Full of Worms. And the
Oh,
whole movie is just a random assortment of characters finding worms that send them on LSD trips and just finding more people, and they're all just getting high on worms the entire movie. And I just, yeah, if you look at all of my top 10 worst videos, the top 3 or 4 are always these movies that you probably have never heard of that came out that are just absolute absurdity. And if you look for Rats on IMDb, I think it'll say like 2023 because it first premiered at a festival then, but it just got distribution this year. And when I saw the movie, I literally said in my review, I was like, I could see how anybody would watch this and not want to distribute it. Like, I'm not surprised that it took as long as it did to get distributed. It's a bad one. It's a bad one. If you want to see me rant, like D loves to see me rant,
oh, I definitely have to see this.
check out my review.
Because you're always so you give films a lot of grace, and you're very you're very kind, and you're very and D as well. I mean D even in films that you're not crazy about, you find some nice things to say. I sort of try, like, okay, the cinematography was good, the acting was good, but everything else was shit. You know, that's where, and I get really angry about it. But I have to see this, Anthony. I've never seen you sort of rant about a movie ever.
That's one of them. That's one of them for sure. Like, easily the worst movie I've seen this year. And even the movies that I have like right above it that I don't think were good movies were movies I would watch like all day, every day before I watch Rats again. Like, Rats was one of those that the grind to getting to the credits at the end was just atrocious. And there's maybe like one moment that you can't help but chuckle because of how absurd it is, but it's so bad that it's not even funny. Like, there's a scene of there's a character that like's trying to like he wants to have like a rap career, and so he's like, let me show you my mixtape, and he shows him like this music video he has, and it's like so trying so hard to be funny, and it's legitimately as if like let's just put it like this: the three of us could use a camera from 2010 and try to film a movie with no script right now and make a better movie than Rats. Like, just like,
oh my god,
just like if we had 3 hours, we could make a better movie.
wow.
Crazy.
I try to be a little bit more selective now about the films that I decide to screen or whatever. So I never had access to that one. I mean, I might have been tempted because Rats, and I used to have pet rats, and I like rats. I was like, oh, a movie about rats, but no thanks.
That's the weird part is there's rats in the movie, but the movie's not about rats. You know,
That's
like
weird.
it's really more about like this guy and his drug dealing cousin who's being chased by this crazy cop, and then at a certain point, like and then it just turns into this like giant shootout at the end of the movie, and like a bunch of the characters just start getting blown up, and it's just like absurd. There's like this like forced romance in there that you don't care about at all, and it was just going for absurdity. Now, you know what's crazy though? It doesn't have a lot of people who have seen it. But if you go on like Letterboxd, the scores for it are fairly high, and I almost think it has something to do with people who like knew the people in the movie.
Oh yes.
Or I've had a few people comment on my video, like say like agreeing that it was trash, but then I've had a few others say like, "Oh, what are you talking about? I was laughing the whole time." And I'm just like,
ever. Yeah.
No
You
way,
just
dude.
don't have a sense of humor.
Right.
That
And
sort of
I don't
thing.
know, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the minority on that, but I'm almost positive that if the two of you guys saw Rats, we'd be talking about the same movie.
I find that any film that reaches hard for shock factor is, I'm not all the time, but most of the time it's something I don't care for, something that's just a bust. But when you said, as soon as you mentioned that shot in the toilet, I thought about Blonde, and they literally had an intrauterine camera angle because they were showcasing a termination scene, and so it was literally a camera angle of tools rattling around inside someone's orifice, and I was just like, what is this? Like, this is insanity. So it's just like, yeah. And the thing is, people will say like, you're too sensitive, like, you can't be PC. There's a difference between something that's, maybe being edgy or out there versus like we're trying so hard to make a statement or trying so hard to make people react. It's like the goal is just for people to talk about it and say like, oh, did you see such and such? And it doesn't work.
This makes me think of that movie. Is it called Irreversible?
Ooh, yikes.
With Monica Bellucci?
Yes.
Which I haven't watched all the way. I did see this scene because I had heard like how absolutely awful it was, and I just wonder if that is like Does that fall in line with what you're talking about, or do you feel like, well, you haven't seen it, so
Well, but I know what you're talking about, and to me, I just can't imagine what the motivation to have an 8-minute sequence of a certain thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
I just after a certain point, it's just like, what is your goal here? It's one
Right.
thing to depict something terrible happening to someone. It's another thing to almost feel like you're delighting in that. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's what the director is feeling, but I'm like, what else? Why do I have to see this happening in real time for 8 minutes? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough with certain movies. Like, you know, I always try to look at the artistic thing, even movies that I don't love. And, you know, like, yeah, I have a lot of people tell me sometimes I tend to be more fair with certain movies because I really try to watch a movie and have the perspective of what was the goal here? What was the vision? Even if I didn't love it, what was the vision? And do I feel like the movie executed on set vision? And sometimes you watch a movie that you're like, for instance, like a movie that last year that made my top 20 best. And not because it was the most fun movie to watch, but just because I just saw the vision and they executed on it, was a movie called Hundreds of Beavers. And
I heard about this movie.
and it is, and I saw it a second time earlier this year, and I liked it a little bit less, but maybe it was because I already said no one was coming, and I thought it was like, you know, it was a little bit more boring on rewatch. But the movie was undeniably what it is. It's a live action Looney Tunes cartoon about a guy who gets trapped in the snow and is fighting hundreds of beavers and all these other woodland creatures, but they're all people in like mascot outfits. So it's like people dressed in like beaver outfits, and he's like fighting them. And the movie does it's a silent picture in terms of like dialogue. There's no dialogue in the film. If there is, there's like usually subtitles, and the characters are like like it's all supposed to be like so cartoony. And you know, rewatching it, I was like, okay, it's a little slower than I remember. Like, it feels long for a movie for what it is, but it commits to it so heavily, and you can't help but like appreciate like this is what they wanted to make, and I like for what they went for, it's perfect. And so I always try to take that into account, but every here and there, you see a movie, you're like, I don't care what the vision was, this was terrible.
Yeah. You know, it has to be really bad if it drives Anthony to say something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard about Martyrs. I have had absolutely zero desire to
I
watch that movie.
I tend to pull a sin with certain films. I either read the synopsis or I read the parental guide just to know what I am actively avoiding. And Martyrs is one of those where I was just like, sure, but no. Like, no. And it's this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's a good thing you didn't watch The Home, because there's eye stuff that happens.
Yeah, you said that, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Oh, I was going to say another one. Oh, because you were saying, one of you two were saying that, or maybe it was Anthony, but one of you two said that, like you can. Oh, Anthony, you were saying about, about Together. Like, you appreciate the message, the concept, like what it's saying, but it's like, but like you kind of question everything based off of the end. And it's weird because I feel the opposite way. I didn't watch it, but I feel the opposite way about Cannibal Holocaust, where it's like, knowing what the end message is, I was like, oh, that's kind of profound. That's kind of interesting. Do I want to sit and subject myself to any moment of any second of Cannibal Holocaust? Absolutely not. It was traumatizing enough reading through the plot summary. So it's like, it's never something I feel like I need to watch. But as far as the ultimate takeaway, I was just like, that's something to chew on. So I kind of appreciated that, but I couldn't subject myself. Like, the thing is, I look at it this way, like my mental Rolodex, I hold on to images very vividly, even from when I was very, very young. There are things I remember like from 90s, whatever, to now. And so Cannibal Holocaust, I know that imagery will just randomly resurface at any time of any day, and I can't do that. It's
I've definitely been there with that movie. There was that little window when I was like in my late teens where I was like seeking out like these hardcore films, you know, to like watch in private, because I grew up in a religious household. So when I first started getting into like horror and these crazy things, you know, my mom would let me watch. Then I started hearing about these crazy movies like Cannibal Holocaust or Serbian film, and so I would go out of my way to watch those movies. And listen, to this day, some of the imagery or the things that happen still pop up in my mind.
I can imagine. I saw Cannibal Holocaust before I knew the controversy and big story behind it. Then I found out later, and I was like, whoa, okay. So, all right. Okay, all right, you guys. Fantastic Four.
Yes.
I don't know, Polly, if Fantastic Four. I saw this last night. I see Polly playing around back there.
I feel that we need like some sort of like
intro
music, like a musical like cleanser or something. I don't know.
From that last discussion.
From that last discussion.
You don't happen to have one, do you?
I got something here.
Okay.
It's just basically our intro. All right.
Cool.
I don't have any of our funny clips here, but you guys have your own different type of humor. It's all good. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Okay, this one is very fresh on my mind. I saw it last night. I'm probably later today or tomorrow going to film my own review for it for my channel. I'll just kind of start off by saying that, well, this was one of the films I had very emphatically stated I was not going to watch before Los Cinematicos happened. And I went to go see it. And my overall thoughts are that I didn't outright hate it. Of course, I didn't outright hate Superman. I just was unimpressed with it for the most part. I didn't hate Fantastic Four. I still feel like the best days of Marvel are behind us. The best days of the MCU are behind us. I didn't hate it. I just lost my train of thought. I liked it. I know what I was going to say. I liked it more than Superman.
Yeah.
So I've got some other things to kind of add here and there, but I'd like to open it up for you guys to share your thoughts about it. Okay, Anthony.
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah, you go.
I loved it, man. I really enjoyed my time with Fantastic Four. I have some gripes, and we'll get into it. And I honestly liked Superman more than Fantastic Four. But
okay.
Here's what the thing for me. As a kid, comic book. We talked about it last time, but comic books were just a big part of my life, And so when the comic book movies started to kind of roll out, bigger, as a kid, there wasn't too many, like now you can fill up a whole bookshelf of comic book movies, animated and live action. When I was a kid, there was only a handful, really. There was like the Spider-Man TV show and the Batman animated series, but one of those that was in the mix alongside X-Men and the Hulk was the Fantastic Four. I probably should have grabbed it, but I have the Fantastic Four old 90s series in its entirety. I own all the Fantastic Four things. As a kid, I loved the Jack Kirby comics. I loved the just some of the games that would include these characters. I loved that 90s cartoon. I will always to this day have this incredibly fond memory of this scene where Johnny Storm is singing on stage in the cartoon, and he's just like, flame on and on and on and on and on. It's so bad, but what I love about it is that it was so cheesy, and I always felt that the Fantastic Four is as cheesy as you get in the world of Marvel, in my opinion. They're called Marvel's first family. They're called the Fantastic Four. They wear bright blue outfits with a big 4 on their chest. You got a rock guy, a fire guy that has to say flame on, or that does say flame on before he gets in fire, a stretchy guy, and the invisible woman in the mix of it, And, then they would go, that set would end up going on to like inspire things like The Incredibles down the line. And it's like, in general, the Fantastic Four have always been a cheesy franchise within the MCU. Now, that movie from the 90s that like didn't really properly get released, but kind of, it exists. It wasn't good. It was one of those that I saw over the years, but compared to like the movies that came out in the 90s, like a Blade or, even something like the Batman movies, people have their thoughts on the Joel Schumacher movies, but those were better for sure in terms of quality. And then 1989's Batman and Batman Returns. And of course the Superman movies were still big, but once we started getting more movies in the 2000s with like Spider-Man and X-Men, I was so excited when Fantastic Four was in the mix, and I always really enjoyed those films in terms of tone. I felt that they captured the silliness of these characters, but I felt like they never honored the overall legacy of the comic books. Doctor Doom was never as menacing as he was in the comic books, and Galactus was a big cloud. It was just like, oh man, like they missed the mark, you know? And so all this to say, then in 2015, we get Fan Four Stick, and they decide to take the Fantastic Four and try to ground them in realism, you know? And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's, you know, there's a characters that can work like that, like a Batman, right? You can have Lego Batman, you can have the animated series, you can have the Dark Knight, you can have the Batman, you can work in that kind of realm. The Fantastic Four are not that. They need to be bright, they need to be colorful, they need to be and I love that Michael Giacchino chose to have the one score in the entirety of the MCU to like sing the title of the characters that I sang home and I've consistently sung since I saw the movie. All this to say, I think Fantastic Four First Steps is the first Fantastic Four movie to fully understand the characters. They understand the familial element of them, the dynamic of the characters, the hokiness of the characters. It's the first one to lean into how ridiculous it is, but how like there's still an element of keeping it grounded. There's still an element of keeping it like within a world that it believes in itself. You know, I think that the best franchises, the best movies believe in themselves, even if they're able to lean into the cheese. And I think Fantastic Four First Steps finally did that for me. And finally, Galactus on the big screen, done properly. I mean, for me, as a kid who read these comic books, this was a dream come true. The cartoons, the video games have always done Galactus well. And then we got a cloud. I still don't understand what they were thinking with that second Fantastic Four film from the 2000s to make one of the most iconic comic book characters of all time, a big cloud. It was just like, it was insane to me. So to see him here was just such a joy. Now, with all that said, that long-winded explanation, just so you guys know where I was coming from, I do think that the film suffers from convenience in the latter half. I think it's a movie that at a certain point, the first act I thought was epic. Everything setting up Galactus, Shalabal, this iteration of Silver Surfer, that whole sequence in the earlier part of the movie when they're in space and like they're running away from Silver Surfer, that was just so beautiful. So I saw it on IMAX. It was gorgeous. You got what's his name? Is it Ralph Ineson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his voice as I already knew once they cast him, I was like, he's going to be perfect as Galactus, and he just nailed it in that introduction scene and setting up the stakes, their escape from that. And then when they got back to Earth and they were trying to figure out how they're going to defeat him, then the movie I felt leaned into a little bit too much into convenience, and it became a thing of like, we're going to jump in time a couple weeks or a couple months in time, just kind of show you the progression of their setup towards it. There's a character that learns a language that's necessary for a moment later on. And it was moments like that that just felt very like clean and too quickly kind of resolved, which led to a finale with one of the most iconic villains. That's one of the most powerful villains. It's essentially a deity in a lot of ways, like a planet eater that I do think he was taken out a little too quickly. Now, with that said, he's definitely not gone. I can't remember what the term is, but Galactus is, I believe, what they call like a nexus being or something, where he is the only one. He's the only Galactus. So in the multiverse, there's not a Galactus in every universe. He is the only Galactus. So clearly in the world of the multiverse saga, I'm sure we will see Galactus return soon enough. So I like that they at least leave that open. But yeah, overall, just to quickly wrap this up now after taking 20 minutes, I really enjoyed the film. For me, as a fan of the comics, I feel like they just finally captured the tone, the spirit, the nature of the characters. Pedro Pascal was a little distracting at times because it felt like Pedro Pascal, but I'm a big fan of Pedro Pascal, and I do think that he, for the most part, still captured the character of Reed Richards. I thought that everybody else was well cast, and I liked them. Again, they just leaned into the cheese, giving the Thing his beard. Like that's such a deep cut from the comics that people don't even know it's a thing. So to see Herbie in the movie, it's just like, man, I finally felt validated as that kid who would rummage through these like pages that got all wrinkled over the years that I still have. Then they're like somewhere that they've just kind of been sitting in a box at this point. But it's just, I felt like they finally understood who these characters were.
So for the most part, you were pretty happy.
Yeah, I was happy
with
with
it.
that. I got my gripes. It's not perfect. It's got its conveniences. I think it wrapped up a little too conveniently. It didn't feel like the stakes were as high as they were in the first 30 minutes of the movie. But it was a good popcorn flick for me.
So there's a part of me that wishes this had actually been an origin story, because the Fantastic Four, while people know who they are, I don't feel like everybody is as familiar with their origin story as, like, let's say Spider-Man's or Batman's or Superman's. And they kind of sort of fast forwarded through all that. It was sort of in flashback sequence, showing you all of this stuff and some of the enemies that they had fought, and it felt a little jarring. Some of the things that I was concerned about, as far as, so, there was all this talk about how woke it was going to be, and as far as Johnny wasn't going to be this big womanizer, and Sue Storm, she was going to be the leader, she was going to be the boss, and it was going to be about women's issues. It really wasn't so much a highlight of things like that. I do feel like I wasn't super crazy about Pedro in the role. And I don't know if this is so much Pedro or the way his character was written. He felt not like the Reed Richards that I thought he was supposed to be. Like, he seemed like he was worried all the time and distracted and scared. And, like, Sue was the one who was very firmly emotionally committed about things, and he was the one that seemed a little like, I don't know. And also, yeah, I still did not like the gender swap. And I know she's one of the actual Silver Surfers, but I also know why they made it the woman first. I know there's an element of that. Let's do this. Let's show the woman one first. And the women are going to save the day in this movie. So if you want to kind of, dig a little deep, you could say it was wokey in the term that the women do much of the heavy lifting in this story. It wasn't enough to make me roll my eyes and just like, oh gosh, this is terrible. But I certainly noticed it. I liked Vanessa Kirby okay, and Johnny, I actually liked him all right. Like you said, there were those conveniences. Like, yes, they had this weird. They go up in space. This thing happens. They've been up in space. It's been a month before they come back. She's got her baby, and then all of a sudden they take, like, the baby doesn't change at all from the time they get home, pretty much, to the time the movie is done, even though months have passed, because there's been all this stuff they have to figure out. So I feel like it was like the pacing felt a little weird, and I don't know, it's just I mean, I'm glad it wasn't something that just made me sigh and roll my eyes and stomp out of there annoyed, but I feel like it could have and probably should have been a little bit, I don't know, more or better in some way. It feels like they're kind of rushing now. You remember how at the beginning of Marvel they took their time to build, and the fact that Galactus is in this one movie and he's defeated, and I agree with you, he's probably not gone, but they bring this big, huge, and then it's just like, oh, okay. It feels like they're moving on the big stuff too fast. You know what I mean? Like Iron Man and the Hulk, they were very grounded with the villains and the baddies or whatever. And then it slowly got bigger and bigger, this build up to Thanos. And here it's like, here's Galactus. Here you go. It was like, I wish they'd kind of I wish we had maybe like one or two or more. I wish we had like maybe 2 or 3 Fantastic Four movies before we got to the whole big, huge Galactics thing. So those are kind of
that's totally fair. I think it's one of those things where, like, I kind of agree with you, right? Like, an origin story probably would have been the best way to go about this and tease Galactus. I think they found themselves honestly in a situation of like, let's give them Galactus here and use it more to tease Doom for Doomsday,
later.
You know. And I do think that was part of like what I was saying before. It's like, it just, like, the first bit is so good. I liked the movie. I really enjoyed it. But it was like one of those things where it's like the convenience and like the time hopping later on to just kind of like get to that final moment that's kind of just like wraps up, you know. And it's entertaining to watch. It's like as a popcorn flick. But yeah, I agree with you there for sure.
Yeah. Dee, what about you?
So, although my level of fandom, I think will never in life, I think it's impossible to reach Anthony's level because it just always reaches a little bit deeper for him. But which I appreciate. It's not me being funny, but I will say when I think about Fantastic Four, I always think about the animated series in the '90s, and I specifically remember the McDonald's Happy Meal toys that came out at the time because they were all really interesting. But Sue Storm's was my favorite because I can't remember which temperature was which, but basically, if you put her in one temperature of water, her body would go completely clear, and then you put her in the next temperature of water, her body would come like back. You would see her clearly there. So I thought that was like the coolest things ever. I also think I don't know if it's a '90s thing, but I also feel like old school fast food toys were like peak. But outside of that, yes. So I've always been interested in Fantastic Four because of that, but I never had the full scope or understanding of them as characters. You know, of course, I enjoyed for what they were. Early 2000s comic book films were a very different thing, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Fanforstic, as was mentioned, is, you know, an atrocity. And I even remember writing back then that it's clear that the only reason this was made, much like the one in the '90s, was simply to renew the rights. We need to hold on to these characters, so let's just throw some BS out. And that's unfortunate. But I'll say going into this, I didn't have the highest expectations. One thing I will say is that I think that, number one, I understand why they didn't probably technically want to take a pause after Endgame, but I think we needed a minute to just kind of breathe, let that be what it was. And I understand, like, you want to make money, you want to keep the ball rolling, but I think it would have been more to their benefit if, while taking the pause, really think about what you're going to do going forward, structure it, put it in place, right? Like, just lock in everything. And then when we come back, now we have the vision, now we have the plan. And unfortunately, I won't say that there aren't films I didn't like in Phase 4, but I think Phase 4 films and television series, it just was a hodgepodge of interconnected, jump like back to back to back to back type of stuff. And I think that decision, basically the whole quantity over quality, basically, and then also having a situation where people in essence had to watch these series to also understand, you know, some of these films. I think that just for a lot of people was just like, this is too much. You know, if I don't want Disney Plus, I shouldn't have to, you know, go through that process to watch the films. It's just like the plan has been off kilter for a lot of reasons. We've all kind of recognized that. But I will say, you know, I think I said a long time ago, or even in the review, I said that at this point, I just take it for what it is. If it's something that works, cool. If it's something that doesn't work, fine. Ever since like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was the last kind of like excited hype. Okay, let's see what they do. And between that and Thor: Love and Thunder, it was just like, all right. I just whoo, okay, we are somewhere else now. So now I need to kind of like rethink how I go into these films and just lower the expectations all the way down. That's just me personally. Like, you know, and so like I said, and not to say there haven't been good ones like, you know, No Way Home. I liked. I think you and I, Sim, both talked about Black Widow because I didn't think Black Widow was going to really be much, but I actually ended up enjoying that.
Yeah, I enjoyed Black Widow.
Yeah. And so there have been good ones, you know, ones that have been but I think there are ones that are there. But I think the problem is we got so used to, much like Pixar, when a studio has like a pretty solid run of successful releases or ones that make you feel excited or, you know, invested and all that kind of stuff. And then you have this saga that wraps up in such a, you know, interesting, you know, memorable way, you know, Avengers Assemble and all of that. I think to have something that in comparison just doesn't feel like it's, I can't think of the word, but it's like it doesn't feel that we have that same. It's just like the level of success that in the run that they had, and I understand it's hard to follow something like the Infinity Saga, but I just think ever since then it's been all over the place. So I will say between Thunderbolts and this, I kind of feel like, okay, I feel a little better. But as you said, Sin, I think it's a bygone era as far as ooh, this is great, this is great, this is great. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming.
Building
And
that excitement too. That's
yes,
not really there so much
exactly.
anymore.
So I don't know if they can course correct. My mindset isn't there to believe that, but it could be possible.
Same.
But as far as the film, I think what I enjoyed the most was the retro futuristic vibe. I love seeing I'm a history guy, so I love seeing, and I think anything old school, depending on what it is very nostalgic. But I've seen so many times, especially when I was younger, the visions of the future in the 50s and the 60s,
right,
of the gadgets, of the homes, of the of the future. And so I always love that. And so the fact that this was all structured around that, because at first I was like, oh, are they doing like the 60s? I didn't realize fully what was going on.
Oh, you didn't know it was supposed to be kind of a period piece?
No, I got from the trailers that it was the 1960s. I thought it was this Earth 1960s.
Oh yeah, it's like one that doesn't count. It's not the
right,
sacred timeline.
I didn't realize it was a separate timeline, and that it was like retro futuristic. I thought it was just this is the 1960s, and that was just it. So I just think seeing that, and of course, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I think about like my grandmother's homes and, those being homes of like the 60s and the 70s and just kind of the comforting, just warm,
cozy, warm fuzzies. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think to me, that was the best part of it for me. And I understand it's not about just the aesthetics, but to me, just seeing all the little details and the kitchens and the gadgets, like all of that just kind of kept my attention for the most part. I think, let's see. I wasn't. I'm trying to think how to say this. I also appreciated seeing Galactus just as a character. My main introduction to him. I was aware of him, but it really wasn't until Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, me playing that game, that I kind of saw him in that sense, and then seeing him kind of pop up in other things. And I didn't understand why everyone was upset with the Rise of the Silver Surfer. I was just like, am I missing something here? Mm-hmm. And then I found out Galactus. Okay. Oh, this is what, And then I found out more about the character. I enjoyed seeing the character. And I think especially that first scene in space. And I think that whole, as you said, Anthony, that whole first sequence was great. And I don't know what it is, but there's something about me, like whether it's a character like Galactus or a character like Smaug and Benedict Cumberbatch voicing him. I love big, epic, intimidating voices. I love hearing stuff like that. So that very first sequence where they look up and then he starts to talk, and I love that entire thing. And I also love the cosmic exploration that we got here with, Shia LaBeouf and with Galactus. And what was exciting about that is the fact that it also makes me think about the Phoenix Force, the Shi'ar, like all these other massive cosmic stories. I think the cosmic stories and then the political, grounded, gritty thriller stuff like Captain America and Thunderbolts, I like those. Those are probably my two favorite lanes, story-wise for the MCU. So I'm kind of excited to see where that goes. My biggest issue is probably casting. I'm not really sure how all four of these actors, if they fully work together. Like I like Vanessa Kirby because of The Crown. I haven't seen Stranger Things, but I've also watched Joseph Quinn and other things. I like him as an actor. I obviously have watched The Bear, so I'm good. So I know about.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Evan. Pedro Pascal. So
saw your review.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't dislike Pedro Pascal. Like as I said in that review, Agent Whiskey, I think that was like my general introduction to him. It was either that or Game of Thrones, Oberyn Martell. One of those I saw first, but those are my two favorite. I enjoyed both of those. I just feel like some actors connect with other people. I mean, some actors resonate for other people. And for me, I hope that certain actors will give me something, even if it's the one performance and I don't like the rest. There has to be at some point where I feel like, oh, yes. And so Agent Whiskey, sure. Oberyn Martell, sure. Everything else, no. And I think by the time we got to Gladiator 2, I wasn't really thinking anything going into Gladiator 2 because I was kind of like, okay, like this is, I'm I have no expectations. But the sore spot for me watching that was Pedro Pascal, because it just felt like he was selling something and that I was not buying. It just felt like a bunch of phoned in BS, and I was like, "Why is this character here? This does not work." And then you also have Denzel Washington, who is, doing doing the most, but in a good way as an actor. And it's just like, no, this doesn't. You can't do this. So from that point on, I was just like, is Pedro Pascal actually a good actor? I haven't seen the Last of Us. I've seen The Mandalorian, but that's a different kind of vibe. So I think I've come to the conclusion that for me, Pedro Pascal just does not. He's just not.
He doesn't do it for you.
No, he doesn't. So, and I think the characterization or the writing for the character, he felt very stiff, like you said, nervous, kind of like, I get that he's intelligent and that like his way of fixing things or solving is like, hey, how do I figure this out? But it also made the character flat, in my opinion. And I didn't have quite the emotional resonance. I understand we had that moment at the end with Sue, but I just felt like it wasn't enough there beforehand. And I do think that I understand that origin stories are a little tired, but Fantastic Four has never really gotten a fair shake as far as origin stories. I understand we have the early 2000s, but I just feel like if you're going to reboot this, and if we're going to tie this into Doomsday, especially with Doctor Doom, then give us a little bit more as far as understanding these characters, because I know them, but I don't know them.
Right.
And then outside of that, the CGI baby stuff, it's a no for me. I've said plenty of times in multiple reviews, I have a whole montage of me talking about my feelings about CGI, followed by a horrifying scream. And when I saw that baby pop up on the screen, I just thought about Twilight. I thought about Renesmee, and I'm just like, please deliver me from this. No. So yeah, I can't. Nope.
Make Pedro small.
Right.
Pedro. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I felt also like the plan that they came up with at the end to try to save the situation, I found it extremely hard to buy into the fact that even though I know there was a decent amount of time that had passed, I found it very hard to buy into the fact that this was something that they could actually feasibly or possibly do, before things all went to hell. I was just like, I can't. Especially when you saw what happened with just one freaking egg. Like, I don't know that I completely buy into this. And I found it a little hard to believe that Johnny, while I did like Johnny and that they gave him something to do other than just lust after women, I found it hard to believe that he was able to completely crack this language based on like
Right.
2 or 3 words this chick said.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, on the normie take, I took my dad and our best friend last week, and they loved the film. Had a great time with it. He grew up with Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. They're both Pedro fans. They weren't convinced with Johnny Storm.
That's interesting. Some people weren't.
With Joseph Quinn.
I mean, Chris Evans, I don't think how you can beat Chris Evans because here he goes. He just pops in. He just like a hit and run, these hit and run comments, and then he doesn't tell us he's going. Paulie, I'm going to kick you out of the studio because I have the power to do that. No, I'm not teasing. I'm not. I'm so glad you're. Huh?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, so go ahead.
No, I'm going to ask you: is being big on the screen worse than when Arturo did the
did what? Because he
has the same darkness.
Corey has the same darkness. He still plays that ridiculous.
Which is honestly worse? I'm curious for you.
Probably being big on the screen on a live stream.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I just see way too much of my face.
Yeah, I randomly thought about that a couple of days ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go back and watch that.
He will sometimes just randomly pull it up and shove the phone in my face and show me, hey, you want to see this? I've only seen it 50,000 times, Arturo. No, thank you. Anyway, it's pretty funny.
What are we talking about? Is a video I need to use for a clip?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Nope.
Pop it in and
You'll
out.
have
I
to
love
you'll
it.
have to go dig for it. You'll have to go dig for it, Polly. Maybe I'll share it with Anthony, but that might be it. Anthony, don't give it to Polly. Um,
All right, heard.
anyway, uh, yeah, I feel like I've said pretty much all I can say about Fantastic Four
Well,
at
we were
this
talking really
point.
quickly about Johnny there. I will
Yes,
say
yes,
this.
we were. Thank you for
Um,
reminding me.
Dee mentioned it, and I said it in my review. I think one of my biggest gripes too was like, there was something about like you had like Galactus, I thought looked great, and Silver Surfer I thought looked great, especially in all the scenes where she's like surfing on like the stars and stuff and like the space dust. But there were moments in this film, CGI wise, that like
With the flames,
like the baby. I definitely agree. Definitely, there's a scene near the end where the baby is reaching for a certain individual that just looked unfinished for sure. But then there was also there was moments.
or
Oh no, we're talking about the scene where Sue has the moment and they bring the baby in the baby
At the very end.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so like the baby's like reaching for Sue in this moment, and the CGI there was not great, and it was very, very noticeable on IMAX. I'll say that.
Oh,
it didn't ruin it for me, but it was definitely like it took me out of it. And I think where it took me out of it the most, actually, surprisingly, was in a lot of the scenes with Johnny Storm. I liked Joseph Quinn as a character, but the fire was at times didn't look good. It looked unfinished. I feel like there are moments of CGI with the fire in the 2000s films, or even with the Michael B. Jordan iteration, that looked way better than the fire in this movie. Again, it didn't ruin it for me. I've always said this on my channel. You can literally find probably hundreds of examples of me saying this at this point, that I give grace to CGI that's a little cartoony if it matches the tone of the film. Like for instance, when I think about something like The Phantom Menace, right? And people give that like Jar Jar a bunch of grief and this, that, and the third. Like for me, Jar Jar fits the tone of the film, so I've never really cared about that.
Right.
But then there are other movies that the CGI just doesn't look good. The CGI just, if it's trying to be darker or serious, like the CGI can just like be like an eyesore, And so in the case of this, like there was just a couple of moments of eyesore action for sure, but I can give it a little grace by saying like, okay, it's kind of hokey, and so is the tone of the film. But I will say the CGI baby at times. I see there's a comment there from Donovan. This is, how does it compare to the Flash CGI? I would say the Flash CGI. I mean, there was way more baby CGI
those
babies in that movie. That movie
for sure
was a little bit more egregious. This was like a little bit something more passable because it's one baby. It was just more in the baby's movements that give it that uncanny valley look to it.
But it was a real baby, right?
Yeah. It is a real baby, but you can tell that they enhanced.
They did some stuff. Like, okay.
With like you could tell they probably took a CG render of the baby, maintained the face, but then like used the CG to move its limbs, and it gave it this like kind of like spider monster kind of look to it.
There's no reason in this time for CGI to be a weakness at all.
Right. It really comes down to films. I think like the sad things that we hear about like these VFX artists being rushed, or like these deadlines, or like overworked and stuff like that. Like when I think about like, people often say like the 2000s was just like a great time for CGI, and it's so true. You think of something like Pirates of the Caribbean with like Davy Jones, or like even something like Smog and the desolation of Smog, in that film, or the first Avatar film, and even recently, I know like you're not a huge fan of those films, narratively and all that kind of stuff, Sin, but I love the Avatar films. And you look at something like Avatar: Way of Water a couple of years ago, it's like that. Whatever your thoughts on that film narratively, like visually, it's stunning. So it's just like we know what's possible. So when you like watch a movie like that compared to this, it's like, or even like something like, if you've ever watch Avatar: Way of Water and then watch like Aquaman afterward, it looks hideous in comparison. Now they're two different films, two different tones, but like, it's one of those things where we know what's possible CGI wise now, that it's just like, why do we have CGI babies who are like looking all weird,
Do you feel the issue is just not enough time, or that they're not investing enough in CGI and too much in actor salaries?
I think it's both. I think it's like, hey, listen, we have this movie that needs to be done by this time, and there's been so many like reports that have come out from VFX artists being overworked, underpaid, and being rushed, that they have a timeline that they have to get something out. And I think when you think back to the projects that like really spent their time with it. It was they had a vision. They gave the people time to make it, and the fact that even it's just weird. It's a really weird situation to be at this point with this. And even even franchises or things that people are kind of like hit or miss with sometimes still have like at least good CGI. Whatever people's opinions of like something like the modern day Star Wars films, like at least you can say like production value wise, like they put the time into it, visually. But I think it's one of those things with like Marvel in particular, where there's so many projects just being thrown out at a consistent basis that like you can, and it's weird because then you can also get something like a Moon Knight that looks pretty good for the most part, and then there's a big hippo in there at some point that looks cartoony, or you have something like She-Hulk where like the first couple episodes don't look too bad with her and like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, but then she's like in a nightclub a couple of episodes later and it looks like drastically not so great, and it's just like it's a little bit, there's a little bit of a wishy-washiness of like the quality of the CGI, and I think sometimes it's like it's just rushed productions. You hear about it so often, and even in animation you hear about it like quite often. Like people are just being overworked, underpaid, and the deadlines are insane. And sometimes sometimes those circumstances create like really good movies or really good looking movies, but more often than not they don't. Like they tend to create something that looks funky.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good, and like it's a shame. And then there's some movies that just don't put the budget right. Like you'll see a low budget horror film and there'll be a CGI blood squib, and you're like, yeah, they paid that guy $6 for that, but with the major studios, it's like it's so clearly a like, hey, we have to get this done by this time, and the best movies have been the ones that they've been able to give those people time to do it, like, and they, or the films that are in production for a very long period of time. Not to get too far off of track, but like I look at like I'm a ginormous Jurassic Park fan. Like the original film is in my top 3 movies of all time. I love those. I love the first 3 films, and part of what I love about it is the practical effects, but the CGI in those films blend with those sequences so well. It's got some of the best CGI. The fact that those movies have better CGI than movies coming out today, it's kind of crazy to me.
Yep.
And I thought that Jurassic World, that you could tell that they put their time into it. The movie for the most part looks good. The dinosaurs look good. But this newest one, Jurassic World Rebirth, had probably the worst CGI in the whole franchise. And when I looked at it, I remember seeing the announcement of Gareth Edwards being announced as director versus when the movie was actually like had a trailer come out was like, I want to say like a chunk of months. And I want to say I read somewhere that last year, that production was from like July to like October or September. So like it was a really short shoot and production window. And that's just unfortunately what we're seeing a lot more with some of these bigger films is like big IPs. We're going to get your butts in the seat. But it's this thing where it's like, there's these deadlines they got to meet. I mean, look at what happened with Moana 2. I liked Moana 2. Nowhere near as good as the first Moana, but I liked Moana 2. But it's already a known thing. That was a TV show. They decided to pivot. So they took what they had of the TV show and cut a bunch of crap out, and like and it makes you, then you can see, oh yeah, like this character clearly was meant to be bigger, or these characters were here for this, and or it just feels rushed in places. Even though I liked the movie, I liked it fine. I enjoyed myself, but it's one of those things where it's like the deadlines is I think what's really gonna harm Disney moving forward. Now, when it comes out to Marvel, though, Marvel has come out pretty openly and said, hey, we shot ourselves in the foot. Like I pretty much heard Kevin Feige in an interview or read an interview somewhere saying that he like they pretty much felt invincible after Endgame. And at this point, we're now in the phase where we're getting the stuff that was already in production post Endgame, right? Like Ironheart just came out, not to raving reviews, including myself. It was one of the last things in that big rollout. Because I remember right after Endgame, when Disney Plus was opening, there was this huge list. They had all the logos for everything, starting with WandaVision, all through Ironheart, even some that haven't even come out yet, or I think they got canceled, like Armor Wars, that was supposed to be like a Don Cheadle show. Yeah. And they had all these shows announced. And the reality is those things were in production. They already started. They got cast. They filmed these things. So like these things were all. Now we're just kind of getting the last little things of those trickling out. But they pretty much said that they plan to scale back to make it a point where they can work on quality over quantity. And I think it's one of those situations where hopefully, once we're past these Avengers movies, that the reality is there's nothing we can do now. They just went too crazy after Endgame, and all we can hope is that they nail whatever they were trying to do, that they bring it to a cool place with these two Avengers films, and that afterwards they can really just focus forward and hone in on who they want to hone in on, you know, because now, man, it's like I do not envy their position of like having so many characters to resolve and bring into the fold as Avengers. Who are the Avengers right now? You know, like obviously we know who the new Avengers are. We know that Sam has his own team, but like there's, you know, somebody like Miss Marvel has trickled in with the, you know, in the Marvels, but outside of that, nobody knows where She-Hulk or Shang-Chi or, you know, freaking Moon Knight and all these characters are. Like there's a lot of characters, and amidst all this, and we know he's going to be in the movie, but amidst all this, Loki's literally holding the entirety of the MCU in his hands right now. Like for anybody who hasn't seen,
haven't
Loki,
seen. So what? Yeah, no.
I'll say this. I mean, if you Loki,
because I don't care anymore as much.
Well,
Okay,
fair
sorry,
enough. Well, then I'll tell you. But in Loki season 2, kind of like essentially ends with Loki holding on to all of the timelines. Like he's kind of like made himself like a prisoner to like somebody who needs to maintain like time. And so, right, like we have characters in really interesting places. But I just feel like it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to do it. They got a lot on their plate, a lot of characters, a lot of stories, and hopefully they can scale it back and focus on the CGI in the right ways. You know what I mean? Like put that time into the craft instead of being like, we have 15 movies to release in 2 years. It's just like, it's not going to be feasible.
Yeah. Well, like you said, hopefully they'll learn. I don't know.
Any comments?
So yeah, we got some comments. Looks like Polly's popping them up here, so maybe I'll just make my screen big. Venom, The Last Dance. All right, sorry. The Last Dance at this point is now the superhero genre's last dance at the box office, since it was the last movie in the genre to make more than double its budget back. That it still didn't break even then. If it only made a little bit more than double its budget back. So a lot of them aren't doing so great. I feel like Superman might scrape by with a breaking even. I don't know. Was fun, entertaining. Okay, I know what I was going to say. There's something I forgot to say. Did you see Liam Neeson's that video of him at the Naked Gun premiere? Did you see that?
I haven't.
He goes in front of the audience and he said something about this movie has whatever or doesn't have whatever, and Pedro Pascal's not in it.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty funny. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know them, but you don't truly know the character. Yeah, exactly what we were talking about, the characters. Mm-hmm. I really wish we had. I almost feel like this movie was too short.
Mm-hmm.
So
because it had so much that it needed to reestablish. So
yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I know Adam Driver passed hard on this because how Reed was written. It might just be the writing. Maybe I really wasn't super thrilled with the way Reed was presented, but I'm glad Adam Driver didn't take the part.
I don't think Adam Driver cares to do any like big franchise stuff right now too. He's like every year he's been working with like the big names, you know, like he's trying to get like involved with like the big directors.
I think once he saw how Star Wars went, he was like, okay, let's pivot.
Done. Yeah.
Even if it's not a good movie, like I haven't seen it, but Megalopolis I heard was terrible last year with Francis Ford Coppola, but it's Francis Ford Coppola. He did the Michael Mann film a couple years ago. He did Ridley Scott. He's done Scorsese. I think he's just trying to hit off all the big boys at this point.
So we have another. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that, Polly. I'm not going to mess with the comments. I'm just going to let you do it. I was trying to keep it going. Sorry, Polly. Marvel Glory Days are over. We will get the anomalies, but the cohesiveness of phase 1 to 3 are over. Yeah, exactly. I've been feeling that way ever since Endgame. I just had this awful feeling. Yeah, this is the peak. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. So I
just don't care like it.
Yeah, just don't care like that, right? No, I was saying, I feel like I'm hanging in there for the anomalies as well. It's just like whenever, the highs, the lows, the whatever, it's like, we'll just see.
Well, some movies I just don't go see. I
Right.
didn't go see the Eternals. I didn't go see the Marvels. I didn't go see Captain America 4 because I do not care. Just don't care. I feel that had this film come out after Endgame as a placeholder for that 5-year gap or to start the lead up to the new Avengers would have worked far better because, yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, I felt the same, underwhelming with the performance, saw that he wanted to do the 60s tone, watched it again. It's clear he's acting like they did in the 60s, like George Lucas did.
Oh, Pedro Pascal.
Maybe? I don't know.
I think that might have been when I was talking about his performance and the character, because I do think it was just like flat.
Yeah, didn't work so much. I felt like he was the weakest for me. It's about to surpass Thunderbolts? Really? I think it's made, is it just almost at 200 million now after this weekend? You remember Friday comes out, it had an 80% drop and everybody was just jumping on that. 80%. It's like, it's just Friday, y'all. It's gonna change by the, and then it ended up, it was like a 66% drop, which isn't great. You know, it's not the worst ever, but it's not great either. I don't know. We'll see if it has legs. I confess I was not a fan of the Shia LaBeouf storyline. That's just me. Yeah, I wasn't.
The only thing I'm going to say about Shia LaBeouf, my assumption, now I could be wrong about this, I just assumed maybe given that it's a alternate timeline, my assumption was they introduce Shia LaBeouf as a Silver Surfer introduction because Norman Rad is going to be the Silver Surfer.
The real one's going to come along. Right.
So,
I assume that as well, but I also am very cynical in that I'm like, yeah, we all know why you put the woman in this role. We all know. I'm so over that stuff. Until the fact that it was Julia Garner actually didn't bother me. I like her okay.
I have some friends who aren't fans because I think by the time they got to the end of
Ozark?
Yeah, Ozark. It was just a bunch of screaming and hollering.
She was super. I did not like her character in there. I do not like her. Yes, but like she doesn't rub me wrong in general as a person or an actor or any. Like I feel nothing. It's like she's okay, but her character in Ozark is annoying as hell.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. It isn't because they keep changing what VFX they want, so they're animating the film multiple times until
Oh wow. That doesn't help.
No, they need to stop that. We don't need 2 and 3 movies a year.
No.
1, I think is fine. 2 is a lot, but if you stretch it, you know, like have many months between them, like maybe 1 in the beginning of the year, 1 at the end.
And yeah.
You know, or I don't know. They are definitely doing too much, for sure. Fed baby.
We're like, hold on.
We've had babies, for decades.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's, again, it feels like it shouldn't be like that way anymore. You know, like it's just
like how have we regressed?
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Some people feel like that Franklin is going to like undo all of this multiverse stuff, and it's going to come back to the same
pretty much
timeline.
Like in the comics, he essentially can create his own multiverse. He's a very overpowered character. So if they use him, they could have him like completely rewrite everything and kind of like reset the timeline.
Hold on, Anthony. So you're saying that Franklin's going to recast T'Challa?
I mean, it's very possible, right? Well, there's obviously there's the rumors of the recast there, but a lot of people have been assuming that it's going to be like T'Challa proper, but at the end of Wakanda Forever, we're introduced to T'Challa's son, T'Challa. So I think we're gonna get like a time jump.
Yep.
And that T'Challa's son is gonna be the new T'Challa.
To me, that
not the T'Challa that Chadwick played. So we'll see. But they are saying that there's that maybe because the Secret Wars, when we get there, not to derail us anymore that I already have, but Secret Wars is like a huge multiversal battle in the comics. Like, we're like every iteration, like let's just say it like this, like every fan should expect to see like every cameo you want to see possible in Secret Wars. Like if you look up any comic book imagery of that fight or of that comic book storyline, I mean, it's just like 10 versions of the characters you love from different universes all present at the same time. So if they do it well, it's going to be just like all out insanity. It could be overstuffed. It could be a mess. It could be disastrous, but it would be a good point to use somebody like Franklin to like just like reset the timeline and like reboot us in a way, you know, where we can kind of start over.
We don't have to
and
keep
not
track
have to
of all
worry about
these.
like having to
Yeah.
watch everything that's come up
Yep.
to that point to follow it, you know.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe he can be. He hasn't reached that level for me that I avoid a movie because he's in it, but he's coming a little close. But the only saving grace is for me in general. I know you don't feel this way, Dee, but in general, I do like his acting all right. But I am starting to notice that often Pedro Pascal is playing Pedro Pascal, kind of like Jason Statham is playing Jason Statham in a movie. That sort of thing.
And the thing is, depending on the actor and depending on how charismatic they are, you can be okay with that, and you can kind of just like, okay, I watched this because this is this type of actor. I like this like they're in. But for other ones, you may be looking for something more.
We know Polly loves Pedro.
Yeah, absolutely. So sad, so sad.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Next comment. Fantastic fail. We'll see. I mean, in general, I feel like most people enjoyed it. Will it have legs enough? Most people enjoyed Superman too. I don't know. Superman might hold out a little bit better than Fantastic Four. I
think Superman has the advantage of like, hey, I don't need to have watched anything before this. Like I can just jump in and like, you know, like he's also a far more popular character.
I feel like you don't either with this movie with Fantastic Four.
Right.
Because
but
it
I
almost
think like,
it's like a standalone in some ways.
Right, but because the MCU just has that whole thing of like everything is so attached at this point, I think there's that stigma for people like, can I watch this? Even if you tell somebody, they're going to be like, oh, aren't they going to be the Avengers? It's like, I'm already behind on that, so whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
True. Okay, no more comments? Are we done, Polly? I don't know. He's just sitting there. Let me see if there's.
I will be curious to see how you know things work with Pedro Pascal moving forward with the Mandalorian and Grogu. That's what I'm excited because that's my favorite role.
I forgot all about that.
But I saw the leaked trailer when that premiered at Star Wars Celebration, and it looks really good. And that's my favorite role of Pedro Pascal. So
Mandalorian.
It's probably the most different of his roles. So I'm excited to see that.
Well, here's the good news. There's not, for the Pascalitos out there, there's not another Pedro movie till next year.
Oh, that's just a few months from now, Polly. Next year's going to be here before you know it. When is it? January? And it's another comment. Well,
I'm just saying because there was literally a new Pedro movie like every week.
There were a lot this year.
There was a lot this year.
Like what? 4? Up to 4, maybe?
There was 4, right? So if we're counting Freaky Tales, Eddington, The Materialist, and now Fantastic Four. So yeah.
There was another movie that he wasn't in that he might have been in, and I don't remember what it was. Someone else took the part. I don't recall who it was, but there was one.
Weapons.
That's the one.
Weapons.
Yeah, then that would potentially be 5. Thank goodness he's not in that.
Right. Well, it's just scheduling because he had to he had to say no to something.
No to something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other comment that there's some new comments, but I just saw this earlier. I did not realize that this must be pretty new. I did not realize that she had passed. I guess it was today. Okay. Polly, let's see. I don't see any more starred. No, Pedro. No, he wasn't. Okay, so now what's playing in the theaters? Like what's playing now, what's coming up? I do want to mention one movie that I would recommend. I think it's coming out either it came out this past weekend or it's coming out. It's called She Rides Shotgun. You guys heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got sent an early screener for it a couple weeks ago.
So did I.
And I didn't watch it.
You didn't?
I didn't watch it, and then I saw that we got closer to release, and now everybody's saying it's so good. I'm like, damn, dude. I had it sitting in my inbox like 3 weeks ago. And I have it again. I still have it. Like I can
Oh,
watch
but
it
has it
now.
expired? Because mine had like a time it was going to expire, and
Mine
I
expired,
watched
but
it.
I asked for it back so I can watch
And
it.
they get okay. I finished it the night before I left for San Diego Comic-Con, and so I had no time to do a review. Went to bed crying. So, that tells you anything. But it's very good. The little girl, fantastic. That's one of the newer things.
Sorry, did that happen because you were like overworked, tired?
The
Is that on me?
crying?
Yeah.
The
Are you talking
crying?
about me
No.
with not watching it?
No. Yeah, who are you talking to, D? Me or Anthony?
No, you. Yeah.
Oh, me? Because of the story.
Oh, because of the movie. The way you said it, I'm sorry. Because you had just mentioned that you were going out of town for it. So I was like, oh, is it? Sorry.
I had to finish it before I left because I knew I would not have time to finish it once I got to San Diego, and there was a time limit. And I was like, I'll film the review when I get back. But it's about this father. He's just gotten out of jail. He's kind of estranged from his daughter because he's had such a violent past. And he picks her up from school one day. Her mother has not shown up. He picks her up, and they basically go on the run. And she's scared of her father. But through the course of the film, she learns from him. He kind of learns from her. And they just it's a very sweet father-daughter story. Very gritty. Feels almost neo-Western-ish. I really love the color scheme, the color palette that they use. Very warm and almost comforting, even though the story itself is not necessarily in a lot of ways. The child actor in here, phenomenal. I absolutely loved her performance. Just so good. So yes, that's a new one that I definitely recommend. And I'm going to go see Weapons this coming week. I know that's coming out.
Yeah,
What
I'm
about you
hyped for
guys?
Weapons.
What's
I
up?
can't wait. It's gonna be a good time. As far as this weekend as well, there's Naked Gun. I don't know if you guys
yeah.
have gotten around to seeing it. I saw it. I know. I saw the live stream of the day. Rosa Parra, who I don't know personally, but I saw that her review was quoted with the Latino slant under it
I
in the
saw
trailer.
that. So exciting.
Oh yeah, let me get that. Hold on.
Yeah, pull it up.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It was a good time. Definitely feels like it honors the original, and I think it's nice to see Liam Neeson go from like these action movies that we have went from awesome to like now we're kind of cracking on him because it's kind of unbelievable in his older age. So to see him take that seriousness into the comedy of style of The Naked Gun was fun. If you're not into slapstick comedy or dumb humor, then you're not gonna like it.
I'm
Like it's just you got to know what it is that you're watching.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. And then The Bad Guys 2 also in theaters this weekend, which is just fun. I love the first one. Predictable, formulaic, but a good time nonetheless. Yeah, there it is. Comedy of the year.
Our Rotten Tomatoes score is higher than our.
Well,
Is this where she was? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
Like,
exciting.
Congrats on that.
That's
Rosa.
really cool. That's really cool.
I love it.
Awesome for Rosa and for Latino Slant.
All right.
So what are we blanket? I don't have a list of movies up in front of my face.
I think
right now.
I think The Bad Guys 2 and
Look
The
at
Naked
mine.
Gun and She Rides Shotgun are like the big releases of the week.
For this, and
yeah.
has She Rides Shotgun already come out, or is it coming out?
I think it came out this weekend.
Okay.
Or it's about to.
Congrats,
or
Rosa.
something.
Sketch. Saw an advanced screener of that at the Mystery Movie last week. It's an Angel Studio production. There's no religious, faith-based whatever. I know a lot of people really don't like that. But it's basically a story about this little girl's drawings that come to life, and you find out that's actually very, very good. It's very touching, and it's funny because it's kind of like it reminds you of the adventure kids movies from the 80s and stuff. But it also handles it's dealing with deeper themes like grief and loss, because she's drawing these terribly violent, scary pictures because she's dealing with the grief of having lost her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about coming to terms with your grief and different things like that. But I do. That's another one that I do recommend.
Okay.
I think that might be out. Maybe it's coming out next week. I haven't edited my review yet.
And we have Together.
Yeah,
right.
We have that review from you up on the site, guys, and the people listening on the chat. live or on the replay, but also too it again did really well in box office. There's a lot of competition this week. Bad Guys 2, Naked Gun, and Together, all in the top 6, Anthony.
Yeah.
As far as how
lot of-
much
lot of
they've
big-
made, I feel like I'm wondering if I'm feeling like I guess Fantastic Four is going to be number one still.
I saw it had a pretty big drop this
It
weekend. If
did
I'm
a
not mistaken.
66%.
Yeah,
You
I
think
want to say
Superman
Naked
might?
Gun.
Oh,
may have
Naked
knocked
Gun,
it.
yes, of course. I just tuned Naked Gun out because I'm not crazy about that type of comedy. But
Even though
Okay.
you are a fan of the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
oh gosh, yes. But see, sometimes stupid, goofy comedy can be done well,
Well,
and
yeah,
it
and that
works with
movie-
me most of the time. It does not at all.
right.
These
Yeah,
are,
I know what you did
these are
last summer.
current
really-
numbers. I just wanted to throw this up there for you guys.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
know what you did last summer really just kind of came and went. Same with Smurfs. Like nobody really talked about either one of those
I
movies
forgot all
much.
about Smurfs.
Well, you did, and you didn't have positive thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it and I reviewed it, but like, and it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't great at all. But it was, yeah, you know, it's just like it's crazy because they make these kind of movies, right, for people to be like, hey, I know what you did last summer, Smurfs. We know these things, so let's go to the movies. But like, they came, they went, people talked about them for a few days, and like they weren't even bad enough or good enough to like really stay in the conversation. You know, like whatever people's thoughts on like Jurassic World Rebirth, right? Like a lot of people didn't like the movie. I know you two were definitely on the big negative train, but the reality is the movie made money. People talked about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, Polly.
Yeah, and you know,
I had a blast with that movie.
yeah, there you go. See, that's exactly like for me. I liked it more on second watch. It's definitely not as good as the rest of the franchise for me, but it was like, you know, it had its moments, but like, it doesn't matter. People are going to see that movie. Like, it made money.
Yeah, they still are. It's number 5.
I think, if nothing else, it was a good promotion for the raft brand, because apparently there are inflatable rafts that can't be punctured by.
Right, even if they're in the mouth. Right.
Yeah.
That
so,
stupid scene. That
good
was
promotion.
that was yeah. I want that raft. Whatever plastic that's made with, give it to me. I want to use it.
I'll also use this moment as well to say, I said it earlier in the stream, but I already sent Polly over my written review for a new horror film that's coming out this coming week called Shaman. So that's another one. We got Freakier Friday coming out this week too.
Man, Anthony, like I had high hopes for Shaman.
Oh, you watched the trailer.
And
for
well,
that.
Yeah,
I've already read his review, so I know what I'm putting up.
Oh.
Trust me,
So-
man. I wanted to like it too, and I'll say this: it's a well-made movie. It's just
What's the
like
problem?
here's the
Writing?
premise. Family of missionaries goes to Ecuadorian
Oh
village.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Son goes to cave he's not supposed to go to, comes out possessed. They get a Catholic church, a priest to try to get the demon out. It's not working. They need a shaman to do it. How many times have you seen this movie?
Right.
Outside of not the setting of Ecuador and having like an Ecuadorian shaman, you've seen this movie 452 million times, and it just doesn't do anything to excel beyond what you've already seen. It has elements because of the setting. It was shot in Ecuador. The camera work is pretty beautiful. The locations, the scenery was pretty beautiful.
It
That's
just
about
feels
man.
boilerplate.
You've seen it a million times.
That's another worst of the year thing for me is the horror genre has been hit hard. Hopefully the Conjuring will, we're gonna go see that in the theater in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But
go
yeah,
see
a lot of these have like tanked, man. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then it looks like Shaman, but Bloodlines was all right.
I like Bloodlines.
Yeah, Bloodlines was fun.
Oh, Final Destination. I was just like completely drawn up. I have not seen any Final Destination movies, but I do know enough about it that when I was driving to or from Jersey a few weeks ago and I got behind a log truck, I was a little nervous. So-
Do we need to add that to the watch list?
I know we built up such a watch list. We haven't had a watch party in forever.
I know. We got to get back on it.
Need to get around to that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. You guys like and subscribe. It's free and it helps the algorithm.
It does.
So I think maybe let's see, hold on, let me. Oh yeah, he pulled up the domestic box office for. Wait, is this for Fantastic Four? The 368 is for Fantastic Four? Okay, so it's the 200 number I had stuck in my brain. That's just US.
That's domestic. So worldwide, it's made 260 something million.
368.
Right. So it'll pass in a day or two Thunderbolts.
Oh, do you remember offhand what the budget was?
What's that?
I'm just wondering what the budget was. Do you know offhand what
Well,
the
what
budget
they're reporting,
if you believe that, right? Yeah.
if you believe that,
I know.
200 million, and then you got to think, same obscene number of marketing. So
they probably need to make about 600 or a little less, maybe, just to break even.
I think 657. Then they're really sitting pretty, but it might hit 6. I honestly never even expected it to go past 5, 6, but
it doesn't go. Yeah.
I and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on my live stream, guys. As to why it's kind of like, having a challenging time. But I think one of the factors is that the movie business has just really changed, Anthony. I don't know if you agree, because it took a minute for Lilo and Stitch to hit that bill, and everyone thought it was going to hit a bill in 2 weeks. It took a minute. Oh, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things now where, like, especially post COVID, like, what works and what's gonna do well is there's no really rhyme or reason. Something might, like, it's funny because, like, some of these live action remakes, like Snow White earlier this year, which of course had a little controversy with Rachel Zegler, but some of these movies have just not done well, and people are like, we're tired of these remakes, we're tired of these reboots. But here we are, Lilo and Stitch, $1 billion. It's like, okay, well, clearly you're not that tired of them. Same with How to Train Your Dragon. I think it did pretty well. I'm not sure exactly the numbers, but I think it did pretty well. But then at the same time, something like Elio bombed, right? And you even look back at a lot of, like, animated movies, specifically for Disney. Disney kind of created this system for people where it was like, oh, all this stuff is going to be on streaming soon after. Like, and so
that's a terrible business model.
And so it became this thing where, like, now people that have kids are like, I'm not going to waste my time taking my kids to the theater. I'm going to wait till it hits streaming. So, and I see there's a comment there about tickets being expensive, but on the flip side, I think for, like, adults who want to go to the movies, I think with things like Regal or Cinemark or AMC A-List, they all have these things that you can make it more affordable. Like, for me, I'll have some snacks in my pocket or something, and I'll come in with a bottle of water. No, I'll get popcorn and soda at the theater a lot of times, and and some sort of snack. But a lot of times I'll come in with a bottle of water, watch a movie or two, and like, I get my money's worth for it. Like, I think there are affordable ways to go to the movies, but for a comfort level, for not dealing with crazy people in the theater, we're in a situation now where, like, that little bit of, like, everything's coming to streaming during the pandemic really created this new system. I think of a movie like Encanto that didn't really do big numbers in the theater, but once it hit Disney Plus, it became this cultural phenomenon. Like, everybody knows about Encanto. Everybody was singing "We Don't Talk About Bruno," this, that, and the third. But that didn't come from its theatrical run. It came from its Disney Plus
streaming,
like, inclusion, And similarly, I think we saw that with it was another Pixar movie, having a brain fart, about the fire and the water characters. Elementals, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that movie did really poorly in theaters, but became a huge success on streaming. And it's like, it's consistently happening. And I bet you once Elio hits Disney Plus, it's going to happen again.
And to back that up really quick, guys, Captain America has been number one for weeks on end on Disney Plus. Weeks on end.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's that was a terrible movie, man. It was they had some good parts to it, but there says something to be said about families and people just sitting this one out, sitting that one out. Oh, I'll go to that one live.
They don't have FOMO, so
I think F1 is really everyone seems to the behavior for F1 is like, I got to go see that in the big theater.
Yeah, kind of like with Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
You know,
It's
some
it, it's all got to
Sinners
be
even.
event.
My
It's got to
gosh.
be event based now. You know, it's got to be. It's got to feel like I can't miss this. It's got to feel like, for instance, Superman kind of had that going for a little bit, where I heard people that I never hear saying that they're going to go to movies, that they were going to go see Superman, or they were going to go see this or that. How to Train Your Dragon kind of had that going for it too. But yeah, I mean, the amount of movies that people will ask me about that I work with, like, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? Oh, I'm thinking about seeing it, and then they never do. You know, they'll wait for it to catch on streaming. Then they tell me 7 months later, hey, I saw this movie finally on streaming. But yeah, there isn't that inclination to rush out the theaters unless it's something like you got to see it before it's spoiled for you. Like last year, Deadpool and Wolverine was one of those. Like everybody was rushing the theaters to see it, but it's like it just doesn't happen every time. You know, it's very hit or miss. Sinners was a good example of that too.
Yeah, just for the music. It's definitely worth
But just
seeing.
in general, I think like the hype around that, Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, you know, Minecraft had its version of it for sure, but I think it was because of the memification of it later on. I'm really grateful I saw Minecraft before the whole chicken jockey like theater madness took over.
Oh, I heard about that. I'm glad my son wasn't working in the theater anymore when that happened. So, all right. Well, I guess maybe we can start to wrap this up. We've gone on for a good almost 2.5 hours, y'all.
Yeah, we did get a super chat.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, deleted. Hey, I completely, I don't know why I didn't see that. There's so many comments still starred. I guess I just, oh, there it is. Yeah, it just came in. Thanks for watching, Deleted. I hang with Deleted. We do live streams about the mystery movies. There's a mystery movie tomorrow that's only at AMC, so gonna see what it is. I'm hoping it's gonna be good, whatever it is. So, all right, okay, Levi.
All right, so he says, "Hola, panel chat. Keep up the great work. Thumbs up for $5 as a member of the channel. Thank you, brother. Gracias." That's how you read a super chat.
Oh, sorry. I still need your guidance, Paulie. It's still kind of a big deal for me to be, watching over a stream this big. This is considered big for me. So I guess we're ready to wrap up. I'm looking at him here in the background to see if I can read his body language. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll do this. I'll do this here.
You do
right?
it. Okay. This will be the template. This will be the template for the next. Okay.
All right, everyone in the chat, we hope you enjoy the second episode of Los Cinematicos, the Latino Slant film critics, where they get together, and let's give them a big round of applause. And thank you guys to all the members that stopped in the chat, subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for, because we are doing something very special on this channel and on our website. But right now, let's give the spotlight to our panelists, because they also too have their own channels going on. Let's start off with D MovieMann.
Hey everyone, this is D MovieMann, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. That is the tagline that sums up pretty much everything I do over on my channel. Love reacting to the occasional television show, or recapping the occasional television show, like reacting to a trailer here and there, but I love discussing films, movies, and just also getting into it from a personal perspective and understanding, even beyond entertainment, how film has impacted me in such a deeper, more emotional level as well. So feel free to check out my channel. I am currently having a recap series on The Gilded Age, which I am enjoying. And I am hoping to see Weapons this week. It's slowing down a little bit because I have work presentations to give for 30 minutes. That's it's something I haven't done before, but I'm trying to push myself work-wise. So it's taking a little bit of a slowdown this week, but I'll be back at it soon. And in the meantime, I'll be seeing Weapons, tune in for The Gilded Age, and I'll also be having some big stuff coming up. I'm doing a little bit of a transition with the channel. So I would love the support, and I would love to have you.
Thank you. And Anthony.
Hey everybody, my name is Anthony A. Perez. Over on my YouTube channel, you can find tons of movie reviews for TV shows and movies. Every week I have reliable early reviews for movies and television. So tonight at midnight, not only will you have a written review over on the Latino Slant website, but I'll have a video review over on my channel. Also going to be catching a Freakier Friday earlier this week. And trying to keep up with all the new stuff as well. I also do a weekly live stream. Sometimes it's a more podcast discussion like thing. But other times it's also this game show I've been recently doing called Convince the Panel, where I have a bunch of guests on. MovieMann and Sin have been on. I've talked to Paulie about having him on as well one day, so that should be pretty fun if we ever make that happen. But yeah, tons of fun movie-related stuff over on the channel if you guys are interested in deep dive breakdowns and tons of geeky stuff. I got at least 3 to 4 videos dropping a week with that weekly live stream and a bunch of short content as well. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you're interested in any of that.
Thanks, brother. And last but not least, La Mera Mera.
It's all my fault. It's always my fault. I'm Sin from Sin's Corner. Where I basically I do on my channel what I love to do the most, which is talk about stories. Generally involves movies, sometimes shows. I do live streams with other channels too. And my latest review on Latino Slant, you saw that. You know how I feel about that.
What did I do to Sin, man? You said leave her alone. All I just said, this is how she does not normally do this stuff.
No, I don't.
This is how you spotlight our guests, our panelists. You read a super chat, people that paid during the live stream. They're paying your bill.
Okay, Paulie. Paulie has been nice to me so far this stream for the most part.
Yeah.
I will say that on his behalf, but I do appreciate your show of support, Rosa.
Uncle Gilbert, Fantastic Four was an amazing film. Hey, man, you do you. Right on.
Glad you enjoyed it.
And Marcelo Lopez, aplausos a los Cinematicos. All right, let's get on out of here.
All right. Okay, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and hit end stream, you guys, which will play the outro video. What's this? Okay, hold on. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and hit end stream. We'll play the outro video. It's been absolutely fantastic talking with you guys. Love you guys so much. This has been a lot of fun, and appreciate that Paulie was here for the support in the background very, very much. Love the comments. Love the interaction with you guys. Go watch a good movie, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Music.